and we have distributed food. So I always fight with them. I always tell that our children with disability, they are not orphan. Don't go and give the food or give without what they deserve it. That is not commitment. That is not the creating awareness. And many people, they go and we are, and there are n number of people, n number of researches have been conducted in the awareness, creating awareness. And they get that this many people are aware, this many people are not aware. Then what? It is in the self life only. So what? You got to know that this many people are not aware. So there must be research how to inculcate this habit, the success stories among the people. It is not that to find out. Survey study, you find, and so many studies of the disability rehabilitation, the second generation, they do on the survey to find out challenges in higher education. Many of our student of master degree also, they take survey to find out these challenges, that challenges, even inclusive living challenges. So what? You found out the challenges, then what? That is more important in the call of the day today. And I'm not taking much time. Anyway, 15 minutes already we have lost. And I heartily welcome the panelist. Clinical aspect, Dr. Alka Subramaniam. Awareness and inclusive persons, Mr. J.P. Gadkari. Sociological aspect, Professor Arvinder A. Ansari. Impact of employment of life, Dr. Hemant Keswal. Inclusive education, Dr. Pooja Nair. Inclusive living, Mr. Rameswar Vishnoi. Family-based alternative care, Mrs. Ranjana Srivastav. Volunteering aspect, Ms. Madhu Juneja. Community-based rehabilitation, Mrs. Sangeeta. Hearty welcome to all the panelists. And before we start, we will be asking them, we will be requesting them to give their perspective on inclusive living and for PIDD and PMIS. And the time will be given 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you. Over.
We will not be, yeah. We will not be able, what time do we need to wait? Okay, then that's fine. So can we request Dr. Alka Subramaniam? So will my colleagues put in the introduction for her? Dr. Alka Subramaniam.
Good morning.
She has to join online.
I am online. Can you hear me? Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, Dr. Alka.
Am I audible? Good morning.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. At the outset, I must thank Manovika's family and Dr. Nimish Desai for having me here today. Of course, I'm a little caught up between two conferences, but I promised him that I will take some time out for this because it's such an important cause for all of us. The thing which has always been, I've been working in this field for more than 2 decades now, and we run at Nair Hospital Center for Learning Disabilities since almost 15 to 20 years, where we certify children diagnosed with SLD so that they get benefits at the school level and then subsequently the disability certification. Also, we run an autism center, which houses about 35 students. It's a small school, and we do certification of autism and associated disabilities across the spectrum. So all the neurodevelopmental disabilities and other childhood disorders. And we've been working in this field, our hospital, since more than 4 decades. And me personally, I've been affiliated with the Institute for more than 2 decades. So the first thing that I hold very, very close to my heart, and this is something that is becoming stronger and stronger as a conviction, is that I think it's time for us to change terminology. You see, inclusion starts, when we say inclusion, it also means that anything which causes exclusion must be done away with. So the word disability itself signifies an inability to do something. And We've even written to the ministry that it's high time we started using the word differential ability, because we need to recognize the ability of these individuals and see what it is that they can contribute to society as a differential ability. Just like we have changed our textbooks across universities to become gender neutral, similarly, we need to change whatever we are teaching right from a school level to have inclusive terms for those who have a differential ability. And this will be the widest way to disseminate and advocate inclusion, because inclusion doesn't come only by changing a policy or by compulsive inclusion, which is the stage where we are at. So acceptance has to come across the board. If you change things like today, fortunately, the NCERT has seen to it that you have at least one chapter in every class starting from primary level. If you look at the school textbooks, where they have one chapter which talks about somebody who has a disability, either it's a physical, locomotor, or somebody who has an inability to be cognitively an achiever, so on and so forth, which I think is a very progressive move. Because for children at a school level to see that there's somebody else who's a little different, but it doesn't matter. They're still a human being. So acceptance and compulsive inclusion is probably the stage where we are at. Why do I say compulsive inclusion? Because we have policies. The RPWD Act has completely changed the way we used to view disability, and it has made it necessary for us to certify as well as to give provisions for jobs. Now we are stuck at a stage where, though we have companies and CSR approaching us to give these individuals a chance, they don't know what to do with them when they actually employ them. So today we are actually talking to 3 corporates, my team and I, where we are educating them almost on a every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and trying to explain to them how someone with autism is going to fit into a corporate setup, how someone with SLD is not going to manage your filing or your manual work, but can do things on a computer. You see, they have given them the benefit based on the Disability Act, but they are not well versed with what to do with these individuals once they come into their organization. So the compulsive inclusion state, I'm reinforcing again and again, where because of the policy, because of whatever we are at, we are actually making it necessary for these people to get involved in society. And from there, we need to progress to a naturalistic stage of inclusion, which is what nature has. All of us live together under the same domain. Some of us have certain abilities, some of us have different abilities, right? But this is all by natural selection. So we have to move towards that stage where you would reduce the number of special schools, you would reduce the number of special centers, and have all of this in as a model where children of across the spectrum are going to be there in school, college, and professional college wherever necessary, and transition into employment zones without so much so as a compulsive need by policy, but a naturalistic flow which is acceptable to all, which is very important. Of course, along the way, it's very, very, very important that equal advocacy and education about psychiatric morbidity be explained right from the school teachers and counselors to the employment agencies, because it's one thing for me to be inclusive or you to be inclusive towards these individuals. What is the other thing is the individual perception. Now, by the time I reach, say, 23, if I'm a person with differential ability, I realize myself that I'm different from others. I realize myself that I am not the typical 23-year-old individual. And that has an impact on me too. So that can cause low self-esteem, it can cause depression, it can cause anxiety, it can cause suicide and suicidal ideation. So these are the things that I have to watch out for. And if I get really very, very frustrated, and I don't find means of coping, neither means of communicating with anybody. I could indulge in maluse of substances. So I could start smoking, I could start drinking, so on and so forth. So assessment of what are the emergent mental health issues has to be alongside that. It is imperative that counseling of the individual and hand-holding them as they move from phase to phase in their life is something that we do more holistically and not compulsively. So this is my thoughts on it to start with. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alka. We request you to stay back for the questions if possible, because the questions will be at the end of the session.
I will try.
Thank you.
Alka, can I say?
Yes.
Alka, can I say thank you so much? And that is so lucid and succinct. Like Ashwini said, if you can be with us, it'll be nice. Please, I know you're traveling at another conference, but try and be with us if you can.
I will try. I will try.
Thanks, Alka, very much.
And Dr. Alka, thank you so much. Actually, I am very happy that you have brought out this issue of including it in the textbook. That was the best way to create awareness. That is what you have said, you told. I am very happy that you have brought out the topic. The audience must be, they will be knowing that how, if you will include in the textbook, really it will create a huge awareness than preaching in anything.
See, what happened was actually, we noticed that the change came about in the teachers only when we changed the B.Ed curriculum. Before the B.Ed curriculum, the new B.Ed curriculum has SLD, has autism. The old B.Ed curriculum did not have that. When we noticed that that change had come about in the teachers, that's when then we requested an NCERT change the textbooks also. When I'm saying we, it's not me, it's a group of us who work in all these things. And NCERT then changed the textbooks for the children, and now more and more inclusion is coming, but again that is more at a primary level. We need to work even at a secondary level and reinforce it. So community-based programs, awareness and value education, which somehow disappears when you reach college and professional college, needs to be reinstated as part and parcel of the curriculum if we really want to work towards inclusion.
Another comment will be that when we say differential abilities, say it creates a lot of onus on the mental health professionals to produce the assessors who can assess the differential abilities. Yeah? Yeah. Now, may I request Dr. Desai to please read out the paper of Dr. Gadkari, because he is not able to join online.
Good morning again. The program has Mr. Gadkari, the past president of an organization called Parivar, to be here. He is with us, but I think he's finding it difficult to get online and converse with us. Fortunately, as many people of those generations, he has a typed text ready. And so all that I have to try and do on his behalf is I'll not read out the paper, but I'll summarize what I understand of this wonderful write-up by Mr. Gadkari in about 5 or 7 minutes. You know, I was sitting there and thinking, one of the group of people who I usually empathize with in today's world, if you guess, are those political party spokespersons on TV debates. Because they have to say whatever the party has told them to say, and the TV debates become what you know they become. I am nowhere near that experience, because I think that what Mr. Gadkari has written is wonderful, and maybe like Alok and team usually do, we'll have this on the website of Mano Vikas with other papers. Let me come to what I understand of what Gadkari has written. First, he makes a valid point that like all marginalized sections of the society, PIDDs also have been hugely marginalized till now. No wonder, as he himself says. Not surprising, but yes, something should be done about it. The second very important point that he makes, and why I said what I said about being just the spokesperson, is this. Gadkari sahab, while I agree with large part of it, and I agree with the fact of what he's saying, he says that one of the biggest misinterpretations about IDDs was that it's an illness, and that IDD conditions have been misunderstood with mental illnesses, and how the society sees PIDDs also, as Mr. Gadkari says, as lunatics, just like the other mentally ill people. But the basic point that he makes is valid, that what we have been saying since yesterday, and that's why we have tried saying in this seminar, you want to deal with issues of PIDD, you want to deal with issues of PMIs, where they are common and where they are not common or different. So Gadkari Sahab believes that is the first necessary misconception to draw. And I agree. When I've had sessions for Supreme Court or High Court judges, I've actually had slides differentiating IDDs and PMIs. So I'm with Gadkari Sahab on that. Now, what he says is something that Alok and I have been from our different streams, been a witness to in the 90s. Mr. Gadkari says that because this is what was happening, the responsibility for bringing awareness fell on the parents of IDDs. And if I might take a tangent for 30 seconds, in the 1990s at AIMS, I had another friend, Mr. J.K. Mehta, and I think Mr. J.K. Mehta and Mr. Gadkari and a few others brought together this organization called Parivar, if some of you are not aware, especially our young people, which is a federation of NGOs across the country of parents for persons with PIDD, with IDD. And so that was really huge. I mean, 25 or 30 years ago, to conceive of a federation of NGOs at the national level, of all the NGOs wherever they existed, of the parents of IDDs. And I must say, Parivar team has over the decades done really, really great work. What Mr. Gadkari says here is that while something has been done, a long battle still awaits the parents and families of PIDDs, which I'm sure we'll agree with. His next major point, I understand, and we'll all agree with, is spreading awareness, successful advocacy, activism. So Gadkari Sahab talks about 3 A's being necessary for inclusion, especially inclusive education, and he's going to come to that in a minute. Awareness, advocacy, activism. And then, of course, he talks about what we've been saying since yesterday, the stigma of PIDD, either mixing it with mental illness or its own standalone stigma, both. Mr. Gadkari also talks about how he is happy with the new education policy for the emphasis on inclusive education. And then he makes 3 or 4 points in bold that I think I'll just summarize and maybe read out. So he says, and I quote, "So let us go back to the beginning. Firstly, the system of inclusive education has to be vigorously implemented, with special education being kept only as a last resort." One major point. 2, and I quote, "Secondly, the regular teacher in the classroom should be provided the assistance of a resource person, a special educator, to take care of the education needs of the PWD or PIDD. Thirdly, and I still quote, thirdly, there should be a resource room for PWDs in every inclusive education school. And I still quote, fourthly, all so-called regular teachers must be trained to take care of the education needs of PWDs. For this, disability as a subject should be made compulsorily introduced in all teacher training programs." And I unquote there from his text. So those are the 4 major points that Mr. Gadkari makes. And then, of course, he talks about what we discussed yesterday and saw some live experience of self-advocacy. And here again, I go back to his text. "Self-advocacy is one of the best ways to develop the self-confidence and self-esteem of PIDDs. Realizing this almost a decade ago, Parivar created a self-advocates forum under its aegis and proved that PIDDs are quite capable in developing the skill to spell out what they aspire for," unquote. And so that's the summary, as I could understand, of this wonderful write-up from Mr. Gadkari. I hope Mr. Gadkari can listen to us online. And if he is listening, thank you so much, Gadkari Sahab. And I'm sure this paper, many of you will find useful, especially our young colleagues. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for extending your support and reading out Dr. J.P. Gadkari's paper, and very descriptively, he has told that the 3 A's, that awareness, advocacy, and activism, is key to inclusion. That all of us, we agree with that also. And also, he has very well said that stigma has to be avoided. Till now, how much we work, also now also stigma prevails. And also, what is his suggestions about special education teacher, regular education teacher, resource room, and disability as a subject? That is, I firmly believe that if we include it from the beginning as a disability or inclusion as a subject, it will be definitely be in a large scale, it will create awareness. And also the self-advocacy, what is done. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gadkari. Now we invite the next panelist of our panel, Professor Arvinder A. Ansari, Honorary Director and Professor, Jamia Millia Islamia.
Very good morning to all of you, people on the dais and present in the hall. And I take a second to acknowledge my thanks to Dr. Nimesh Desai and Mr. Alok, who gave me an opportunity to present my view here. And I'm sure you are having a very fruitful discussion since yesterday, but you know, as a sociologist, I might take you to a different zone, because I'm looking at disability from a very, very different perspective. I mean, social exclusion, yes, of course, is a very, very important thing. But, you know, and I agree with Dr. Alka that our society is diverse. It is heterogeneous. So that diversity and heterogeneity has to be accepted and acknowledged. We are not all same. You know, people without disability are not same. There is this diversity, and unless and until we recognize this diversity, it is very important. The terminology has to be changed and has been changed. But very important and a very critical question which we need to ask ourselves: have we eliminated the prejudices and biases in our minds in regard to disability? You know, my first brush with disability, you know, when Alokji asked me to, because we have a proper, you know, discipline disability studies. I'm not an expert in that. It's just my views. As a sociologist, I'm sharing. You know, my first brush now I remember with disability was, I think when I was a child, I was in 6th or 8th, 7th standard. So it was a wedding, you know, proposal had come for my cousin. So we were also asked to accompany. So we accompanied, and वो जो लड़की देखने का है, वो छोटी थी. So there were some voices coming up. So the voices were coming, and we wanted to know what are these voices, because the family, the elders wanted to know ये आवाजें कहाँ से आ रही हैं. They said नहीं कुछ नहीं ऐसे ये. But you know, my aunt insisted, when they showed our house, that wanted to go to that room. And when we went inside the room, we found a girl, you know, youth in her young ages, maybe 20, locked up on a charpai, and she was groaning. She was mentally challenged. So, you know, this is very important. You see, where does exclusion starts? Where does exclusion start? And it was such a, you know, so today morning when I was just jotting down these points to come here and talk to you, I was thinking that we need to problematize this, you know, this feeling where we want to make the family members also want to to make disability invisible. They don't want to share, is very important concern. And unless and until we critically engage with this phenomena, the process of social exclusion, which talks about academically of deprivation and discrimination, is very much embedded in our social system. It is very much embedded in our social system. And how do, you know, we talk about social exclusion, inclusion in context of marginalization, but the marginalization in the lives of disabled is much more pervasive. It is much more pervasive. And I take point what Gadkari Sahab has said. Awareness, advocacy, activism is fine, but consciousness, sensitization, what Dr. Alka was pointing, is very important. And you know, this the state has come with many laws, but very important is, you know, when we talk about, there are mental health acts, Council of India Act, which has talked about making, which has come out with provisions of inclusivity, but we still see that despite the fact that disability has become to be recognized as a human rights issue, throughout time, the predicted change in the lives of people with disabilities has not happened. People with disabilities continue to experience several disadvantages. And very important is structural impediments. We have to remove those structural impediments because they are invisible. We don't have toilets for them. We don't have infrastructure facilities which would help them to make their lives more enriched. We don't. This is only Disability Act, and we were all asked to make ramps in the universities. Still, washrooms are not there. Are very few universities, public universities, because of crunch of funds, they have always this. But do you have you seen the public spaces? There are, special rooms, restrooms for them, toilets for them. It's very important question. So this invisibility has to be addressed, that they don't have to be invisible from our policy making. So, very important is that other social impairments frequently dictate their life circumstances. The barriers in social policy processes and institutional practices that have made people with disability invisible in society over time frequently make them vulnerable to many hidden handicaps and prevent them from living life of dignity. That is very important. Like any other normal human being, should be critically examined in order to understand the underlying causes of non-realization of rights of persons with disabilities. It is acknowledged that social process consistently deny access to rights, opportunities, and resources to this population and marginalize them further. In India, the process of social categorization based on caste, race, religion, and area is fundamentally tied to the method to addressing the issues of socially excluded population. But it's understandable and it is undeniable that a disability raises more hurdles to full participation and makes other exclusionary factors worse. But it's very important that unlike many other socially excluded groups, they encounter a variety of difficulties due to environmental issues, social stigma, and social attitude of incapacity and discrimination. What happens? Our attitude that, with the mental disability is very pervasive in our minds, that they are, one, yes, of course, they don't have, we always have in our mind that they are not, they are not able to perform their duties, which roles. Second also is that as far as, it is concerned, they are also considered at times dangerous. I have experienced this in my journey as an academician. Whenever, it is, mental illness is a very, very established phenomena. It is illness, it is illness, and PWD is something which is biological. But why it becomes social is very important question. In my this life and journey as a academician, there are students who kind of get into depression. The moment they get into depression, they also face this kind of discrimination. They are avoided, a social distance is maintained, and they are always perceived as a probable threat. अरे अरे वो तो चिल्ला देती है, वो तो मार देती है, वो तो हाथ उठा देती है. Instead of empathizing, we kind of start maintaining social distance and make their lives more difficult. So now, issues like disability discourses have increased vulnerability as a result of intersection of disability. We have to understand this intersectionality in the lives of disabled, and intersectionality of gender and disability is so painful. It is so painful. A mentally challenged women, who is menstruating, who is a very, very vulnerable victim of sexual exploitation, and without no rhyme and reason, she's always considered as an offender. She's, what is her why do we call her victim? What is her role in that? We don't talk about that. So it's very important that we have so many policies, but the process of social inclusion has to be addressed at the at the level of society, and also socio-economic changes are very important. It is just saying that we talk about them, we discuss about them, and we problematize, unless and until we make socio-economic changes and makes society more inclusive in terms of infrastructure, in terms of addressing the question of invisibility. I don't think we are actually moving towards inclusion. So, it is very important that social inclusion policies are more based on the stand positionality. When I say stand positionality, we have to understand the stand positionality of differently challenged people. We have to understand their lives. Just sitting in drawing rooms and in good offices, when we discuss and we formulate policies in big AC offices, we are not aware about their stand positionality. And my understanding and experience as a researcher tells me you can only make policies which are more effective when you take care and when you take into account their stand positionality. We need different policies for different groups, because as I said, that it is a heterogeneous society, and heterogeneity among disability, the gender perspective is also very important, and we need to think and critically engage, and families also have to be sensitized about it. I think the first consciousness and sensitization starts at the level of family, community, and also, yes, very importantly pointed out by Dr. Alka, that we don't have to have special schools. We have to integrate them. We have to integrate them into our social system. We have to have them there, and we have to have policies and infrastructures which facilitate and which brings dignity to their lives. Thank you very much.
Yeah, please come here. Please join us. Thank you so much, Dr. Arvinda. Very well said. A lot of work needs to be done to promote tolerance for imperfection. Right? If we have person with disability, which means that there are some imperfection. So if we have more tolerance for imperfection, probably our own mindset will be more inclusive, that, okay, we also need to have as part of our group.
Yeah, thank you. You have very well brought out the issue of the intersectionality of the disability. That is really a very crucial issue. They have double impairment. They have women and then disability. And there are a lot of work has been done nowadays. Even the National Commission for Women also, through their research work, through their seminars, they are promoting how they can strengthen and empower the women with disability. But still, lot to be done. And I think all the future generation, they will concentrate on those areas so that their empowerment can be done. Thank you. Before we go to our next panelist, I would like to request all the participants that you reserve your questions for all the participants, all the panelists. And at the end of the panel discussion, the question answer session will be there, so that you can put forward your question and clarification to the specific panelist. And now our next panelist is Dr. Hemant Keswal, who is a very renowned professional all over India, and who is a president awardee for the empowering adult persons with disability. He has been he has placed and he has improved the quality of many people with intellectual and developmental disability. Dr. Hemant, welcome to the panel discussion, and we are looking forward to see your perspective.
Thank you, ma'am, for your good words. I really thank Manovikas family for inviting me for this in this national seminar on disability mental health. In fact, it has been a widely talked topic wherein we are talking about inclusion, mental health, and definitely when it comes to mental health of persons with disability, it has been undermined by the society. In fact, by and large, when we talk about mental health issues, we as normal human beings also do not talk about mental health issues. And then what to talk about person with disability, and that too, when I come to my specific disability area, that is intellectual disability, who are unable to express about their issues, it becomes all the more difficult. When today I would be discussing about a higher level of inclusion, I should say. It may appears very hypothetical to many of the people in the audience. I had worked on life satisfaction of persons with intellectual disability. And this was a study conducted a few years back to see the impact of employment on life satisfaction of adults with intellectual disability. The sample size was 250 adults with intellectual disability. All are above 18 years of age. Equal number of people were there. That is 120 adults employed, 120 adults unemployed. It was a huge sample, and we had taken a lot of time. Definitely purposive sampling was required because you don't get so much huge sample to discuss to take data, and that too, a lot of elimination was there, because when we are talking about life satisfaction, it's a very amazing, very difficult task to measure also. And to coming directly to because I think we don't have much time, so I will skip many of the things because it's a database study. So I would just for the orientation of the audience, the conceptual thing was in life satisfaction, we have studied basic needs, sharing responsibility, share, right, optimal needs with respect to age and gender, social ability during the interaction with other people, fulfillment of life goals through economic self-reliance, and self-proxy self-evaluation. And this was the definition. What we generally talk about life satisfaction reflects both extent to which basic needs are met and the extent to which a variety of other goals are viewed as attainable. So the scope of present study is expected to help educators, employers, planners, trainers, and counselors to assess intellectual disability in right perspective of their productivity without applying a sense of preconceived weakness of persons with intellectual disability. The study would guide them to enhance efficiency, love for skills, and similar attributes. The findings would help them to plan life satisfaction activities by triggering aspects of domains under this study. So these were the objectives: impact of employment on life satisfaction with respect to living environment, that is urban, semi-urban, and rural. Then socioeconomic status, in socioeconomic status, that is upper middle class, and lower income group, then gender and age wise. Age wise, we have divided into two groups, that is age between 18 to 23 and 24 to and above. So this is an overview about the sample size. You can see. Definitely, it is not difficult. It is very difficult to get equal numbers. So whatever we could get, we could divide it equally into those age-wise and gender-wise and other socio-economic status-wise, employment setting-wise. Employment settings, we have taken open employment, supported employment, and sheltered employment. So the tool what we have been used for life satisfaction, that was a multi-dimensional students life satisfaction scale. The 40 item scale has 5 domains, that is family, friends, work or school, environment, living environment, and self. And it was rated in a 6-point rating scale, that is 1 for strongly agree, moderately disagree, 2 disagree, then agree and moderately agree, and strongly agree, that is 6. So we have, since it's a Hubner scale, which has been used in European country, so we have validated in our Indian settings also, and reliability was tested, and it was found adequate accommodations have been made. I will, if the panelists want, I can share the statistical things, but it would be more time consuming because it is, we have about 30+ slides. So if you want, I can share it. Otherwise, I can come directly to the conclusion on all these issues. It is with the organizers. So shall I come to the conclusion directly? Findings?
No, you can share the
Findings such. Please लास्ट से 3 स्लाइड्स दिखा दीजिए कंक्लूजन वाले. नहीं कंक्लूजन, अब आप कंक्लूजन ऑफ द स्टडी सर, जो भी हमने 5 पिक्चर्स लिए थे उसके ऊपर, देयर वी कैन डिस्कस. स्टैटिस्टिकली सर काफी ज्यादा हो जाएगा. थोड़ा सा लास्ट के 3 स्लाइड्स दिखा दीजिए कंक्लूजन के. इससे नहीं हो रहा सर, काफी ज्यादा. 15 स्लाइड करना पड़ रही. या आ गया. So in life satisfaction, there has been a significant difference between the two groups of unemployed. The unemployed group is better off than employed group. It's a very significantly noticeable thing. हम आप generally क्या कहते हैं, employment मिल गया तो life satisfaction बढ़ेगा, isn't it? But here it is a reverse in this case. I would like to share the findings, because when we have seen persons with employed, many persons with who are employed have the social life is very limited. They just go to their employment setting and come back. Very monotonous life. They do not have their own family life, and when they grow older, their elder siblings are preoccupied with their family. Parents are very old enough, so their life is very much, they don't have clubs, they don't have parties, they don't have other enjoy playful things. But when it compares to their normal peer groups who are unemployed, or who are attending, who are in homes, or who are going to schools, they have variety of activities to do. So their life satisfaction found to be higher. That was the reason. Then the employed group residing in urban area scored higher than those residing in rural area. Then gender-wise comparison of life satisfaction, the employed males with intellectual disabilities scored higher than the females who were employed. Definitely, we had very less sample also of females, and reasons were not much significant, common, we can say. Then life satisfaction with respect to socio-economic status, the employed group for middle class scored better than the other two groups, followed by lower class and upper middle class. This reveals that the life satisfaction level amongst the middle class are better than lower income group and upper middle income group. So the reason for this conclusion was also interesting, that people coming from the lower income group did not have much exposure, or their life was constrained to very few things, as compared to the upper income group. Also they had a very limited exposure in the society. They do not go around in the society. So middle income group, we have seen that life satisfaction was relatively, it was not so significant, but relatively higher as compared to the two groups of low income group and upper middle income. Next, the life satisfaction of employed group in this was the age-wise, lower age and upper age group. So lower age group, we have taken the sample of 18 to 23 years of age group, and upper age group we have taken the sample of 24 and above. We have taken the last age also, that is 32, not beyond 32. So here we have seen that the life satisfaction is better in employed persons with intellectual disability who had recently got the job, as compared to those who had been in the job for a longer duration. उनके अंदर भी उक्ताई सी आ जाती है. They are well, saturation was found there as compared to people who have recently attained, that is 2 to 3 years. That factor was also found out. Then life satisfaction of persons working in open employment settings were found to be higher than those working in supported, followed by sheltered. The results reveal that persons with intellectual disability in open employment has more chances for interacting with community as compared to those who are working in supported and sheltered employment settings. So this study we had conducted wherein many students, where many adults were there who were working in open employment setups also, like a canteen or kiosk, or so they had been interacting with normal people in the society. And that was a significant part, that when we compare it with the sheltered employment or supported employment, relatively they have been performing better off because of their exposure to the society. That means what we are talking about inclusion, we need to do away with the capping that these people cannot be included, or they cannot. We have to give that space wherein they can perform, they get an opportunity. Maybe initially they might encounter a lot of failures also, but yes, we have seen in this study that when they have been given adequate exposure through open employment setting, their life satisfaction level was very, very high as compared to the supported, and very, very higher as compared to sheltered employment. Sheltered is, you can see, we have the children are within the four boundaries of the employment setting where similar people are working with them. Then there was a significant positive correlation between self-determination and life satisfaction levels for overall of persons with intellectual disability. This reveals that both the skills are associated with each other. We have also compared self-determination and life satisfaction, and they have seen that higher the degree of self-determination amongst persons with adults show higher life satisfaction levels amongst persons with intellectual disabilities. So this was the few major findings of this study, which I tried to explore. Definitely when I started this study, it was a very gigantic task about finding a life satisfaction, because life satisfaction of job satisfaction amongst persons with intellectual disability, and that to taking right responses from them was a challenge. But we tried to get those responses not only by observation, but also interviewing the families, interviewing the employers, and interviewing the adults who are working, the subjects themselves also. And with the help of that, we can come up with this conclusion that yes, they had been enjoying a good life satisfaction level as compared to other people. So my recommendation through this study was that when given an opportunity to adults with intellectual disability, they can also lead a good life. And there have been the observation was that life satisfaction level of persons with intellectual disability can be measured, and they can lead a good life satisfaction. It could also be later on put in the terms of job satisfaction also, but that part I have not touched in this study. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hemant Keswal, and such an interesting finding of your study, because all of us, we learn that the ultimate rehabilitation is vocational rehabilitation with a remuneration job. That has been taught, and we have been learned, and we are teaching to our students also. But your study has opened up many facets of the life satisfaction of persons with disability, that calls for the many research to find out that why this, with having a job also, the life satisfaction has not been done. Maybe we are here to work for other areas more. That's it. Thank you so much.
So while definitely the life satisfaction will be correlated to financial independence and less dependence, right? But the challenge that probably we as mental health professionals have to face is, can we map the differential abilities, so that we can guide the potential employer, that this type of person will be best fit for this type of job? Because there will be many employers who are willing to take up, but they will like some guidance from us that, okay, this person with this type of special abilities will be the best fit for this particular job. Yeah. So now we can request Dr. Pooja Jha, rehabilitation psychologist, founder director, Total Solutions for Learning.
Sorry, I first will admit that I am ADHD, impulsive type. May not stand in one corner and talk. So just to add on to that intro, what I have, I'm Pakka Bihari, born and brought up in Delhi, got married to a Malayali, and then I settled in Andhra, which became Telangana. And I'm mother of 2 beautiful kids, and I think that completes my introduction. Thank you, Alok sir, Nimesh sir, for organizing such a wonderful workshop. And after COVID, attending any workshop in person is really a kick to an ADHD like me. So I have been given a topic on inclusive education, and though it all sounds very nice, But trust me, for me, it's a dream. And I don't even know what kind of sleep I need to dream it even before it becomes a reality. I really like the word when ma'am used, Jayanti ma'am, that, sometimes it's a fancy word. It's not that I do not believe in it. I'm trying my level best that it should become a possibility. But the ground reality is very, very different. I have 24 years of experience. Yes, I may look young, but I'm working since the age of 19 years. You all can guess my age now. All said and done, while running to 73 different schools of Hyderabad and Secunderabad, I realized, oh no, it's not that easy to include all children in one classroom when your scene is totally different. I'm not trying to show you pessimistic picture. Trust me, I'll show you very, very optimistic picture. I'll let you know that it is doable, but let's not deny that it's not easy. Who all are sitting, whom we are trying to include in our classroom. I have not written many names over here. I have not written cerebral palsy. I have not written severe or profound intellectual disability because you can trust my experience. They are not able to reach there sometimes. Very commonly, you see, first of all, a so-called average child. Then you see a child who looks very intelligent, but not able to write correct spellings, cannot read, becomes shy. When a teacher asks that, come, read this particular line, and this child doesn't utter a word, SLD, they have their own set of issues. You have ADHDs and attention deficit disorder sitting in your classroom. Again, highly intelligent children may not look at you, may look everywhere else, but you ask a question and the child pops up and answer. You have attention deficit where the mother will come, ma'am, sab kuch theek hai, aalsi hai, karna nahi chahta. You ask him for Legos, he can sit for the day together, but he does not know how to write. कभी भी अपना काम complete करके लेके नहीं आता है माँ. ADD, attention deficit disorder. You have intellectual deficit. Yes, this disability can reach to some extent very nicely, not identified sometimes. And when they are identified, when they start failing in maths or in all other subjects, तो टीचर के कान खड़े हो जाते हैं, पेरेंट्स को बुलाना शुरू करते हैं और वहां से झगड़ा शुरू होता है कि आपका स्कूल गलत है, मेरे बच्चे को सब कुछ आता है. I have written in bold and italic letter borderline intelligence. इन बिचारों की तो कहीं पे गिनती ही नहीं है क्योंकि ये perfectly fine दिखते हैं. इनका हार्ट ट्विस्टेड नहीं है, ये लोग डल नहीं लगते हैं, ये लोग बात कर सकते हैं. By the way, इनकी स्पेलिंग्स अच्छी होती है, राइटिंग ब्यूटीफुल होती है, ओबीडियंट भी होते हैं. आप बोलोगे बच्चा आई थिंक 2 घंटे और पढ़ोगे तो हो सकता है. ये बच्चा लिटरली बैठ के 2 घंटे पढ़ता है. अगर सब कुछ अच्छा है तो गलत क्या है? कॉम्प्रिहेंशन. दे कांट कॉम्प्रिहेंड. उनको कॉम्प्रिहेंड करने में दिक्कत होती है, इसीलिए मैथ्स पहला एनिमी बन सकता है और उसके बाद शायद हम सारे सब्जेक्ट्स में फेल होना शुरू कर देते हैं. हम क्लास में एक कोने में बैठे रहते हैं, हमारे बहुत फ्यू फ्रेंड्स होते हैं, थोड़े से फ्रेंड्स होते हैं, 1-2, और पता चलेगा कि वो भी उन्हीं के जैसे होते हैं. You have emotional behavior disorder, you have anxiety disorder, you have epilepsy cases जहां पे कि न्यूरोलॉजिस्ट उनको ट्रीट कर रहा है, टीचर को पता भी नहीं है कि इस बच्चे को एपिलेप्सी आती है. एक दिन अचानक से क्लास में कुछ होता है और सारे बच्चे उस बच्चे के लिए एक इंप्रेशन क्रिएट करते हैं, इसको कुछ होता है. घर आके हमें कहानियां बताते हैं. करेक्ट? हम ये नहीं समझा पाते कि देखो सब कुछ सही रहेगा, but maybe this child who is on anti-epileptic drugs might have subtle inattentiveness, may not like writing sometimes, or what to do when he has this. Social pragmatic disorder की बहुत कम बात की जाती है, but let me tell you again, in my clinical experience, very commonly found nowadays, very commonly. पूरे के पूरे ऑटिज्म में फिट नहीं होंगे, इंटेलिजेंट होंगे, इंफॉर्मेशन तो बॉम्बार्ड के जैसा अच्छा सा होगा. They are like moving encyclopedia, सब कुछ पता है उन्हें, लेकिन सोशल लेवल पे क्लू कैसे कॉम्प्रिहेंड कैसे करते हैं नहीं पता. आपने इस बच्चे को अगर ऐसे भी इनवाइट किया, अच्छा भाई ठीक है तुम आ जाना हमारे घर, that's it. This child will catch hold of your sentence. They have invited me, I have to go mama, they have invited me. No beta, she was so mean while inviting you, she doesn't want to invite you. Who cares? For this child, the world is either black or white. There is no middle ground. उसको पता ही नहीं है मैनिपुलेशन क्या चीज होती है, और हम सब सो कॉल्ड नॉर्मल और रेगुलर लोगों को उसी ग्रे एरिया में रहना बहुत पसंद है. हम मैनिपुलेट करते हैं और हम बोलते हैं कि ये एक प्रोडक्टिव चीज हो सकती है. मेरे इस बच्चे को मैनिपुलेशन नहीं आता, उसे नहीं आता है. ऑटिज्म स्पेक्ट्रम डिसऑर्डर, आई डोंट नो, मुझे लग रहा है जैसे कि किसी की कॉन्स्पिरेसी है दैट वी विल डायग्नोज एज मेनी एज पॉसिबल ASD. ये नंबर बहुत बढ़ रहा है and we do not know what can be actually done about it. What are the challenges? ये inclusion क्यों नहीं हो पा रहा? Why this is so difficult? मेरा पहला क्वेश्चन है कि diagnosis. Are we doing correct diagnosis? Do we suspect ourselves sometimes? अच्छा खासा attention deficit disorder का बच्चा होगा जिसको spelling mistakes अपनी careless mistake की वजह से आती है. I will see psychologists or so-called great professionals immediately. SLD, the child would be pushed into the resource room of the class of the school for remedial therapy. The child is not improving because उसको कोई SLD है ही नहीं. वो क्यों improve हो? This child needs something to be done for attention deficit. Psychiatrists are not our enemies, please. Do create awareness. Medicines can be sometimes very useful. Yes, some psychologists and special educators, they believe. What about the side effects? पूजा बहुत बेकार psychologist है, सीधे डॉक्टर के पास भेज देती है. I have only one question. Because of the 4% of side effects, 96% of the good effects should be let go. Should we say when the child would grow, he will come out of all these signs and symptoms? What about the learning which is going to happen in that childhood? Who will take responsibility of that? So your child is so-called 12-year-old, more settled, sitting tolerance increase हो गया, सारे learning problem आ गए हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि उसने सीखा नहीं, because of his inattentiveness. So please, diagnosis is the first challenge. Who is going to bridge between school and child? हम लोग अपने रूम में, क्लिनिक रूम में बैठकर diagnosis करते हैं, interventions करते हैं on one-to-one. We forget the life outside is very different. So who is going to do this bridging? Family. School starts right from your home. Do address. कोई करता है address कि family की क्या practical issues हैं? हम बहुत सारे ideal चीजों की बातें कर रहे हैं, but क्या ये family ready है उन सबको करने के लिए? So sometimes family is a big challenge. Who will guide the teacher, peer group, or the child directly with special needs in the school setup? Being a special educator, sorry, sometimes we do not know what can be done because our training is such. As a psychologist, sometimes I am overwhelmed with the testing. I really do not know what is this guidance. How I'm going to tell this child, Bacha, when this teacher comes, remember her face. She is a maths teacher. वो जैसे ही आती है, तुमको maths की book और maths की notebook निकाल के रखनी है. What my children they do? They don't associate. They don't know. Some lady has entered. Everyone is doing some kuspus. The child is looking blind everywhere, and then the child teacher comes in. Maths, don't you know? And the child is actually happy. Finally, a clue to mila what I'm supposed to do in this environment.
Dr. Pooja.
Yes.
Slightly short of time.
Short? Yes, sir. Don't worry. I'll take only 5 more minutes. Okay. I know 15 minutes, 7 to 8 minutes is given to me. Yeah, I'll do that. Then, do you really feel that only the passion is going to do the whole thing? I don't think so. Passion is not going to really cater to all the things what we are looking for. And my last slide. How would you ensure then that this inclusion can be actually done? Learn the diagnosis. Please, dear clinicians, sometimes diagnosis cannot happen in the closed clinic room. It would be great if you can visit the child's home, the park where the child plays, and the school. Because when you would know the actual scenario, of course, your intervention program would be more and more effective. Make a plan of action and decide who are responsible agents in the execution of that plan. Because no matter what wonderful plan you would make, if execution and monitoring is not done, it's utter failure. Intervention does not happen in clinics. It happens in home, school. So once in a while, please visit. Please believe in transfer of learning. One-to-one पे एक impact लाना is very easy. One-to-group, it is difficult, but it is not impossible. You can actually do it. Do not hesitate to take free workshops, seminars for the teachers, because they are the real one. I call them human engineers. If you know something, go ahead and train them, because trust me, they are also waiting to learn from all of you. What helps in inclusion is social story, theory of mind, same therapist going to school for transfer of learning, meeting with higher professionals because the school might be suffering as this child is creating some ruckus. Meet them, give them a behavior modification plan. Do not leave a child after 1 or 2 years of therapy because they are not coming for therapy. Don't leave them. Stay in touch. They need you very little bit, but like a salt. Without salt, the food can be tasteless. This is my Abrar. All the stages, you can see that's my Abrar again. Standing in a classroom, he is 11 years old, 6th standard, doing very well. But it's still my challenge. I just met him 2 weeks before. और वो मुझे कहता है, पूजा मैडम, ये लड़के लोग मेरे को जाके बोलते हैं, I love you हो ना दूसरे लड़कियों से. मैं बोल के आया, फिर मेरे टीचर मेरे को ही डांट रहे. I'm so happy he makes this facial expression which I showed. Now if I tell this Abrar, hey Abrar, तेरे पापा का चॉकलेट का बिजनेस है ना, मेरे को एक चॉकलेट का डब्बा लाके दो, पूजा आंटी खरीदना होता. That's it. My job is done. He knows that I'm trying to take advantage. And last one, my struggler ADHD. I don't know whether it would play or not. If you can try to play from there. And I don't even know whether we can listen to him.
And I'm a current
okay, this is Ritvik. Ritvik is doing from
TP program.
Indian School of Business
as a
Studies.
kid, I was diagnosed with high levels of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and this posed a very big challenge for my schooling life. In retrospect, I do think that having systems in place at a school which was more inclusive and appreciated neurodiversity could have created a psychologically safe environment for me. I had to learn a lot of skills on myself by the guidance of my mentors, Ragesh sir and Pooja ma'am. But I do think if neurodiverse kids could have the opportunity to actually learn these skills in an inclusive environment, which is psychologically safe again, it would help them harness and tap their abilities, especially if they are twice exceptional. Adding on further as well, I really do think that there is a dire need of schooling systems which just doesn't focus on academic learning, but also focuses on experiential learning and is inclusive. Again, breaking down my definition of inclusivity, it's not just about kids with learning disorders or disabilities like ADHD, dyslexia, but also it grows broader that different types of learners in a single classroom. So hence, I do think that neurodiversity and inclusivity is the way to go ahead in terms of the approach for education. Thank you.
So for me, my job is done because this Ritvik has created a portal. He's helping children with ADHD. He has helped 7 of our kids who are right now in Symbiosis and other colleges who are doing excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pooja, and very well done. And with your experience, like the ground reality you have shared, and because of lack of time, we could not go through your all the slides. And but whatever you have told, it is really a learning situation for all the second generation and the upcoming special educators and psychologists. And participants, please reserve your questions after the panel discussion. There will be question answer session, so that you can put forward your questions to Dr. Pooja. Thank you now.
can we request Dr. Rameshwar Bishnoi, who is online, to present his views on inclusive living? Dr. Rameshwar Bishnoi is from Grameen Utthan Manav Sansthan in Bikaner. So we request you to, because of a shortage of time, if you can highlight your points in next 5 minutes, please. So please, 5 minutes, please.
नमस्कार जी, आवाज आ रही मेरी आदरणीय सर?
जी बिल्कुल आ रही है सर।
सबसे पहले तो मैं आज मंच को सुशोभित कर रहे हमारे बीच में, क्योंकि मैं राजस्थान की धरती से आता हूं और राजस्थान में एक परंपरा है कि हम चाहे बेसिक ऑनलाइन इसमें जुड़ रहे हैं तो अतिथि देवो भव। आज हमारे बीच में बहुत बड़ा सौभाग्य है कि मैं जो राष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठी है दिव्यांग जनों के लिए विकलांगता स्वास्थ्य जैसे महत्वपूर्ण टॉपिक पे, जिसमें आदरणीय पूनम जी, नटराजन साहिबा जी, डॉक्टर जयंत कुमारी जी, डॉक्टर अलका सुब्रमण्यम जी, मिस्टर जेपी गडकरी साहब, प्रोफेसर अरविंद ए अंसारी जी, डॉक्टर अहमद सिंह केसवाल जी, डॉक्टर पूजा जी नायर जी, श्रीमती रंजना श्रीवास्तव जी, मधु जुनेजा जी, आदरणीय संगीता जी, इन सबको ऐसे बड़े बड़े योद्धा और महारथियों के बीच में मुझे एक, क्योंकि योद्धाओं के बीच में एक छोटा सा सिपाही लाने का कार्य जो हमारे परम आदरणीय डॉक्टर, भारत के विख्यात डॉक्टर मनोचिकित्सक प्रोफेसर निमेश देसाई जी एवं आलोक जी ने किया है, तो मैं हृदय तल की गहराइयों से आप सभी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन स्वागत के साथ अपनी बात रखना चाहता हूं।
बिश्नोई जी, आपसे अनुरोध है कि अगर आप 5 मिनट में सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट्स रख पाए, क्योंकि किसी वजह से हम लोग थोड़ा समय से पीछे चल रहे हैं।
जी जी जी, माननीय महोदय, समावेशी जीवन दिव्यांग जनों के लिए एक महत्वपूर्ण पहलू है। इसे गंभीरतापूर्वक विचार करके उच्च स्तरीय जो प्रत्येक बच्चे हैं, चाहे वो किसी भी कैटेगरी के है दिव्यांग जनों में, उसको समावेशी जीवन को बहुत बेहतरीन तरीके से जिया जा सकता है। इस पे आदरणीय महोदय, मेरा ये मानना है कि दिव्यांगजन बच्चे हैं जिनका बौद्धिक स्तर सामान्य तौर पर अन्य बच्चों से औसतन कम, जिसे हम एक तरह से पिछड़ा बच्चा कह सकते हैं, हमारे राजस्थानी या आम घरेलू भाषा के अंदर उसको भोला बच्चा कह सकते हैं। लेकिन मेरा ये मानना है कि किसी उच्च स्तरीय चिकित्सा जांच के बाद में मनोवैज्ञानिक डॉक्टरों, सलाहकारों तथा अन्य लोगों से कंसल्ट करने के बाद में, अन्य लोगों से बातचीत करने के बाद में, अन्य लोगों से उस बच्चे की परख करने के बाद में उस बच्चे को हम दिव्यांगजन की श्रेणी में रखते हैं। तथा बच्चों के मानसिक विकास कम होने के कारण उसे मंदबुद्धि भी कहा जाता है, तथा सामान्य रूप से अन्य बच्चों से वो लोग ज्यादा घुल मिल नहीं पाते हैं। इनकी प्रतिक्रिया सामान्य बच्चों से अलग होती है। इस कारण सामान्य रूप से इन बच्चों का दूसरे बच्चों के साथ में, आम जन के साथ में सामंजस्य स्थापित नहीं हो सकता है, और सामंजस्य स्थापित नहीं होने के कारण इन बच्चों को विभिन्न श्रेणी के अंदर रखा गया। इसलिए इसके लिए एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण जो सार्थक जो प्रयास है, उस सार्थक प्रयास के समाज के प्रत्येक व्यक्ति का दायित्व बनता है कि इन बच्चों को किस तरीके से हम सामान्य जीवन जीने के लिए उच्च श्रेणी के स्तर के लिए कार्य किया जा सके। मेरा मानना यह भी है कि मानसिक रूप से दिव्यांग मंदबुद्धि के बच्चों का जन्म या बचपन से के समय से विकलांग अवस्था में असामान्य विकास होता है, जिसे सीमित अंतरंग द्वारा वर्गीकृत किया गया है। इसे बौद्धिक स्तर पर वर्गीकृत करने के लिए मनोवैज्ञानिक, काउंसलर, साइकोलॉजिस्ट, स्पेस थेरेपिस्ट, मनोवैज्ञानिक डॉक्टरों की महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका होती है, तथा वर्गीकृत करने के लिए जो विशेष शिक्षक है वो तरह तरह के रंगों के माध्यम से, खेलों के माध्यम से, गेंदों के माध्यम से इनके बौद्धिक स्तर की जांच करने के पश्चात दिव्यांग श्रेणी में तय किया जाता है अमुक बच्चा कितने प्रतिशत का दिव्यांग है। दिव्यांग बच्चों का बौद्धिक स्तर 50 से 75% के बीच में होता है तथा इनमें जो कुछ ऐसे दिव्यांग हैं जो कक्षा 6 तक ही शिक्षा प्राप्त कर सकते हैं। मानसिक रूप से मंद बुद्धि के बच्चों की दिव्यांगता के लगभग 85% होती है। इनका बौद्धिक स्तर 35 से 55% होता है। ये निगरानी में मध्यम निगरानी में काम करते हैं और खुद को देखभाल करने सकते हैं। आमतौर पर बचपन में बातचीत का कौशल हासिल करते हैं और मानसिक रूप से मंद बुद्धि बच्चों में लगभग 10% मध्यम बुद्धि वाले बच्चे होते हैं। ये अधिगम पढ़ना लिखना धीमा करते हैं। इनका IQ लेवल 50 से 70% होता है जो सामान्य बच्चों से कम होता है। इसी कारण इन्हें व्यवहारिक स्तर का ज्ञान नहीं होता है। व्यवहारिक स्तर का ज्ञान न होने के कारण ये बच्चे दिव्यांगजन कहलाते हैं। ये समाज तथा अन्य बच्चों के साथ आसानी से सामंजस्य स्थापित एवं मेल नहीं कर पाते। इस कारण आम लोगों के साथ इनका तालमेल नहीं होता है। इनमें आत्मविश्वास की कमी होती है। भावनात्मक रूप से अस्थिर होते हैं। इनके पास सोचने, कल्पना करने, विश्लेषण करने, निर्णय करने की क्षमता नहीं होती है। ये सब कुछ देर से सीखते हैं, जैसे बैठना, चलना, पढ़ना, खाना, पीना आदि व्यवहारिकता का बोध इनको ज्यादा नहीं होता है। इस कारण इनके हर कार्य में अधिक समय लगता है। दिव्यांगजन मंद बुद्धि बच्चों का शिक्षा के स्तर, इसके लिए शिक्षा के स्तर पर विशेष तौर पर मेरा ये मानना है, आप बुद्धिजीवी लोग यहाँ पे विराजमान हैं, कि ऐसे बच्चों के लिए शिक्षा का जो स्तर है इसके लिए पाठ्यक्रम को अलग तरीके से डिजाइन किया जाना चाहिए तथा विद्यालयों में इन बच्चों को उच्च स्तरीय शिक्षण व्यवस्था का प्रबंध करना चाहिए तथा सह पाठ्यचर्या गतिविधियों को भी पाठ्यक्रम में शामिल करना चाहिए। श्रव्य दृश्य सामग्री का उपयोग शिक्षण सामग्री के पाठ्यक्रम में अनिवार्य रूप से समस्त भारत में लागू करना चाहिए। माता पिता, परिवारजनों, आम लोगों के सहयोग से आवश्यकता महत्वपूर्ण, इन्हें अलग श्रेणी में न रख करके सामान्य श्रेणी के रूप में बच्चों की तरह मान सम्मान मिलना चाहिए। क्योंकि जब तक बच्चों को पूरी तरह से मान सम्मान नहीं मिलेगा, जब तक इनके साथ हम सामंजस्य स्थापित नहीं कर पाएंगे, तो जो हम इनको प्रशिक्षित कर रहे हैं, जो इनकी जीवन शैली को हम बदलना चाह रहे हैं, उसको ठीक ढंग से नहीं बदल पा रहे हैं। विशेष शिक्षा में उस शिक्षित प्रशिक्षित शिक्षकों को जब तक वो फील्ड में जा करके इन बच्चों के साथ में बैठ करके और खुद गतिविधियां नहीं करेंगे, जब तक किताबी ज्ञान से काम चलने वाला नहीं है। इन्हें व्यावसायिक शिक्षा देनी चाहिए जिससे वे पूरी तरह आत्मनिर्भर और पूरी तरह अपना काम खुद कर सके। इस दिव्यांग बच्चों को परीक्षा के डर से मुक्त रखना चाहिए। इनमें ऐसा वजन सामान्य बच्चों की तरह नहीं डालना चाहिए ताकि इनके दिमाग के ऊपर मानसिक तनाव उत्पन्न हो। इसमें मेरे कुछ सुझाव हैं। प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को कर्तव्य बनता है कि ऐसे प्रयास किया जाना चाहिए कि अपनी बात दिव्यांगजन बच्चों पर थोपने से पहले, अपना भाषण उन पर देने से पहले दिव्यांगजन बच्चों की बात बहुत ही प्यार से सुने, आदर से सुने, उनकी अंदर की भावनात्मक आवाज को सुनने के पश्चात अपनी प्रतिक्रिया दे ताकि वो बच्चा उनके साथ में घुल मिल करके और बेहतरीन तरीके से मतलब अपना जीवन जी सके। दिव्यांगजन बच्चों के साथ कार्य प्रारंभ करने से पहले जो गैप अंतर को जानना है, उनकी उपेक्षाओं को समझना है, उनको पूर्ण समय देना है ताकि वो दिव्यांगजन बच्चा हमारे पे विश्वास करे, अपने दिल की बात हमारे से शेयर करे और उन पे विश्वास और दिल की बात शेयर करने के पश्चात वो मतलब क्या है कि हमें एक ऐसा पेरेंट जैसा महसूस करे ताकि मतलब क्या उनकी किसी प्रकार की समस्या का सामना ना करना पड़े। दिव्यांगजन बच्चों को काउंसलिंग करने वाले काउंसलर, विशेष शिक्षक, साइकोलॉजिस्ट, मनोचिकित्सक को प्रत्येक बच्चे के लिए, जैसे मैंने फील्ड में अनुभव किया है, मैं मंद बुद्धि के बच्चों का आश्रम चलाता हूं, बीकानेर में स्कूल चलाता हूं, तो मैंने बारीकी से देखा है, नजदीकी से देखा है कि इन बच्चों को कम से कम 30 मिनट का जो समय है, प्रत्येक बच्चे को 30 मिनट का समय जब हम देंगे, मिनट टू मिनट उससे बात करेंगे, तभी वो हमारी बात को महसूस करेगा, अपनापन महसूस कराए और हमारे से खुल के वो अपनी बात बताएगा। दिव्यांग बच्चों की शारीरिक गतिविधियां क्षमता के अनुसार लगातार करनी चाहिए और उनको प्रत्येक दिन करनी चाहिए ताकि वो शारीरिक रूप से मजबूत बने। दिव्यांग बच्चों को समय समय पर
बिश्नोई जी आपसे थोड़ा निवेदन है, अगर आप अगले 1-2 मिनट में खत्म कर सकें।
सर मेरा बस सिर्फ दो पॉइंट हो रहे हैं। दिव्यांगजन बच्चों के स्वास्थ्य परीक्षण के लिए दवाइयों का और सहयोग के समय समय पे हो, ताकि अपना जीवन दवाइयों से जो अपना जीवन है वो बेहतरीन तरीके से थोड़ा लंबा जी सकते हैं। दिव्यांग बच्चों को योग, व्यायाम, शारीरिक क्षमता के अनुसार प्रतिदिन उनका प्रशिक्षण और उनकी शारीरिक क्षमता के अनुसार प्रतिदिन योग करना चाहिए। दिव्यांग बच्चों को सात्विक भोजन जो है, सात्विक भोजन से इनको बहुत बड़ा फायदा होता है, इनको बहुत बड़ा इनके शारीरिक क्षमता में, इनके मानसिक विकास में, इनके जो भौतिक विकास है उनके अंदर बहुत बड़ा। और ऋतुफल और हल्दी डाल करके दूध पिलाएं। बाकी आप सभी जो विद्वान जन यहाँ पे विराजमान है, दिव्यांग बच्चों के ग्रहों के अंदर खेल की गतिविधियां लगातार हो और उनमें उनको ऐसा मनोरंजन और खेल करवाया जाए, उनको आनंद महसूस हो। और आज इस कार्यशाला में पधारे हुए सभी अति सम्माननीय श्रोताओंगण को हृदय तल की गहराइयों से, समय की सीमा है, मैं अभिनंदन करना चाहता हूं। और इस कार्यशाला के अंदर मुझे भी बोलने का अवसर दिया, इसके लिए मैं परम आदरणीय डॉक्टर देसाई सर का और आलोक जी सर का धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करना चाहता हूं। और आप सब लोगों से 1-to-1 फ्यूचर मुलाकात करके आपसे बहुत कुछ हमें सीखना है। और मेरे जो जीवन के एक्सपीरियंस है और जो हमने इन बच्चों के साथ सीखा है, इन बच्चों की जो कठिनाई आई है उनके बारे में बोला है। जय हिंद, जय भारत, धन्यवाद, आदर सहित सभी को प्रणाम, धन्यवाद।
बिश्नोई जी, एक तो मैं कहना चाह रहा हूँ, मुझे विचार आया कि हो सकता है हम अगला नेशनल सेमिनार बीकानेर में कर लेंगे, है ना?
तो इसके अंदर नया व्यक्ति हूँ, आपका आशीर्वाद हुआ, पूरे ऑडियंस का आशीर्वाद हुआ, आपकी कृपा हुई। बिल्कुल अगर ऐसा सेमिनार करेंगे तो हम आपके चरणों में समर्पित भाव से, और मुझे डॉक्टर साहब आपसे बहुत कुछ सीखना है। अभी मैं इसमें 1% हूँ, आप तो बड़े बड़े दिग्गज हो, लंका की तरह हो। कोई लंका को सोने की अंगूठी बताए वो अतिशोक्ति होगी। इसलिए आप पूरे ऑडियंस में बड़े बड़े योद्धा विराजमान है। मैं योद्धा को एक बार पुनः, इन पूरे योद्धा को बहुत बहुत प्रणाम और आदर सहित करता हूं। और जैसा आप कोई ऐसा सेमिनार करेंगे तो आपके आदेशों की हम पालना करेंगे।
मैं सिर्फ इतना कहना चाहूंगा कि बिश्नोई जी, रामेश्वर जी 3 या 4 ऐसे घर बीकानेर में चला रहे हैं। सो ये जो सारी दिल से भावना से बात कर रहे थे वो जमीनी सच्चाई से जुड़ा हुआ है। दैट्स वन एस्पेक्ट फ्रॉम अ वेरी रिमोट एरिया। थैंक्स।
So now, Ranjana, can I take the liberty of requesting you to highlight the points in next 5 minutes, please? Yeah. Thank you so much.
A very good morning to all of you, and thank you so much, Alok ji, for giving this opportunity.
Recording stopped.
Myself, Rajna Shrivastava from Udin Care Organization.
Recording in progress.
Organization is working towards shining the young youth, and it has different units and the wings. Yeah, next slide. The 4 key programs that Udin Care is running is Udin Ghar program, where providing residential support to children who are without parental care in a family-like environment in a neighborhood setting. Then the Udin Shalini program, purpose is to provide scholarship support to weaker section girls, economically weaker section girls. The third is the IT center skill programs to provide job employment opportunity to the underprivileged youth.
And the fourth is the aftercare outreach program. It's basically children who are leaving the institution, the care leavers, the most vulnerable, and who needs the hand-holding support to lead an independent life. Next. Under the aftercare outreach program, we have the advocacy research and the training unit that focus on the thematic program of child and youth care for sustainable changes. The 5 key components that we take care under the ART unit is the conferences and consultation that we do on the alternative care and aftercare, then a participatory advocacy based approach to improve policy and law and practice on alternative care. Under this, there are 2 demonstration model. We are working on alternative care and aftercare in Madhya Pradesh and Bihar. Then we have the evidence generation through various research and the publication. Then we have knowledge, attitude, behavior, and skills CAPS training. Under we have 3 training curriculums for children, youth, and for child protection functionaries. Then we have the direct engagement with care leaver through state care leaver network or the global care leaver network. Next. As I mentioned earlier, under the Bihar and the Madhya Pradesh intervention program, we are very thankful for the Bihar state government to provide us the opportunity to work in the 4 demonstration homes of Bihar, the child care institution under JJ Act, one such as the aftercare home also, to demonstrate the model on alternative care and aftercare. In our demonstration home, more than 50% of the children are of a special need category, and that led us to do a mapping exercise in this state to understand that above 15 years and the 18 plus, how many children and youth are staying in the child care institution and what is their status. Then the second is the assess existing intervention plan that have been designed for these children and youth for their by the CCIs, aftercare home, district child protection unit, and child welfare committee for their preparation to leave care, transition away from institution, and move towards independent life. The key findings from the study was that among the total sample of the respondent that we have done the study, almost 51% are children and youth with a special need. Out of that, 123 were male and 62 were female. 140 children and youth had intellectual disability, 38 had physical disability, and 25 had with multiple disability. We also found that the children who are staying, the special need children and youth staying in CCI are completely lacking, including the early intervention and services such as special educator, therapies, instrument, equipment for therapies, hospital for children with special need, and therapist for occupational education, sign language, and speech. We also found that the child protection functionaries lack a holistic understanding of addressing the need of the children and youth with a special need. The key recommendations that have come out from this study is that the competency and enhancement of child protection functionaries are required to train them to prepare the individual case file or the case management approach through developing an effective individual care plan. Then the second is the convergence of services addressing educational and vocational skill for children with special need, where we have emphasized on interdepartmental linkages that need to be established to set up a vocational unit in CCIs or aftercare home to provide these children and youth with higher vocational training or educational opportunity. Then the interdepartmental coordination and convergence for their rehabilitation and restoration, assessment and certification of children with special need. Children who are staying in CCI and aftercare home, they do not have any identity document. So here our focus is on that they should have the UDIC, Aadhaar, pension linkages with other schemes. And then we requested the state to form a core expert group or committee at a state level for reintegration of children with a special need with a very focused approach. With that, we have also proposed the state to do a advanced level of second phase of a mapping study to understand in detail what all the services and the linkages is required at the CCI level. Next. The concrete outcome that have come out from the first phase of CCI mapping are these one. The state issued a specific letter for appointment of technical expert like occupational therapists and physiotherapists for provision of equipment and artificial body part to needy children with special need and access of mobile health van by Bunyad Center in each CCI, which was a big heading for us. Then the second was the individual care plan and aftercare rehabilitation effort made for these children in 3 CCI and aftercare home. Those were our demonstration home. The third was that under the JJ Act, it is mentioned that the aftercare program should be there for above 18. And keeping that in view, we proposed the state for drafting a state aftercare guideline and child protection policy for children staying in CCI with a key focus towards the inclusion of children with special needs. Then we have also created, since our intervention started December 2019 and it still continue, major intervention during the COVID period. So we have developed posters on COVID-19 and child protection policy, where special need children were the key highlight, showing them that how it's important for them also. Then the efforts made for the clarity on process of age determination. Most of these children who are staying in CCI, there are no age proof and no one are able to determine their age, and that creates a complexity when we plan the transition planning or from aftercare program phase when we think to provide them with the vocational training or job placement, as there is no age certificate with them. Then we have created the resource directory of agency developed and shared with DCPU with a specific information of special needs services. We also organized a camp for assessment of youth above 18 who are staying in the aftercare home for their assessment through CRC center. So these are the key concrete efforts. Next. This is the last slide, and with this I want to address the issue that the Jenner committee report is with us, and in the Jenner committee report it had been mentioned that around 9,583 institutions are there in India, the child care institutions, but going into the detail and also knowing the specific number of special unit for children with a special need is lacking. So I think this mapping exercise is a best example that in all the state, such mapping exercises should be done with focus to children with special need or youth. The key highlight that the advocacy that we want to do at national level is to invest to create a cadre of professionals, as also mentioned by earlier expert, that from the orientation level, they should be knowing about these issues to help in formulating their effective aftercare and integration plan, especially those 18 plus year. Build convergence and interdepartmental linkage to support children or youth with special need as a priority issue. Therapeutic and life skill training and intervention on emotional well-being, resiliency and overall psychosocial support for children with special need. More in-depth and focused study on the situation and needs of the children with disability and staying in the CCI and aftercare home needs to be undertaken with gender lens, as also mentioned by previous expert. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for keeping the time and such a descriptive and such a nice study by your Udayan Care. And you have brought out many issues and which further should be taken forward to strengthen the empowerment. Thank you so much. Now our next panelist, Mrs. Sangeeta, Program Manager, Manovikas. Sorry. I'm sorry. Ms. Madhu Juneja, Mental Health Volunteer Counselor, will be talking about volunteering aspect. I'm sorry.
So I'm 63. Can you hear me? I don't know whether volunteerism attracted itself to me or I attracted myself to volunteerism, because as far as my memory goes, I have a span of 16 years जब मैं स्कूल में पढ़ाती थी और मेरी सैलरी आती थी. Otherwise, बचपन से ही, I've always been with people. किसी को कुछ help चाहिए हो अपने आप से, किसी को hospital जाना हो, कुछ भी करना हो, तो मैं पहले volunteer की definition define करना चाहती हूँ, जो कि अपनी मर्जी से कुछ करना चाहता है, कुछ भी करना चाहता है, सोसाइटी को वापस देना चाहता है. आजकल वॉलंटियर वर्ड एक बज़वर्ड बन गया है. लॉट ऑफ पीपल से हम वॉलंटियर हैं, हम गिव बैक करते हैं सोसाइटी को, लेकिन क्यों हम गिव बैक करते हैं बहुत जरूरी है. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मेरे केस में मेरा पर्सोना ऐसा था कि आई गॉट इनटू वॉलंटरी वर्क. सेकेंडली मैंने कई लोगों को देखा जो वॉलंटियर्स थे, मेरी इंस्पिरेशन वहां से आई. कोई मेरे ग्रुप्स थे, मेरी प्लेस ऑफ वर्क थी, जहां से मैं इंस्पायर हुई कि एक वॉलंटियर क्या कर सकता है. और जो सबसे बड़ी बात थी, मुझे लगा कि एक वॉलंटियर, क्योंकि अगर आप रेगुलर जॉब्स में होते हैं, आप हाईली क्वालिफाइड होते हैं, हायरार्कीज होती हैं, लेकिन वॉलंटियरिज्म में आप एक दूसरे के साथ बिल्कुल इक्वल की तरह काम कर सकते हैं. तो पर्सनली वॉलंटियरिज्म क्या कर सकता है, क्योंकि ये हमारा पूरा जो ये टॉक है, 2 दिन का वर्कशॉप है, इंक्लूसिवनेस पे है. तो एक वॉलंटियर, मैं अपना एग्जांपल भी दूंगी कैसे, क्योंकि मेरा करियर स्कूल टीचर की तरह स्टार्ट हुआ. तो while I was teaching, I realized all the intellectual based disabilities, whether it was dyslexia, slow learner. उस टाइम इतनी इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं थी जो कि आज आपने कितनी डिटेल में बताई. हमको खाली डिसलेक्सिया पता था, स्लो लर्नर है, इससे ज्यादा नहीं पता था. लेकिन वहां भी उन्हीं बच्चों को थोड़ा सा ऊपर लाके, क्योंकि मैं स्टूडेंट्स काउंसिल में थी, एक ड्यूटी के फॉर्म में नहीं, ये नहीं कि मेरी ड्यूटी है, जो बच्चे थोड़े से बैकवर्ड थे, स्लो लर्नर्स थे, उनको कैसे हेल्प किया, उनको रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दी, उनको बोला आप वॉलंटियर कीजिए, आप खुद आगे जाइए. तो ये जो बच्चे जिनको इश्यूज थे, उन्होंने जितना उनका बन सकता था, उन्होंने दूसरों को हेल्प किया. जैसे खाली लंच ब्रेक में ये देखना कि सबने अपना नैपकिन बिछाया है कि नहीं, इसमें कोई भी आपको एक्सपर्टीज नहीं चाहिए थी. जैसे कल हमारे मनोविकास के बहुत अच्छा लगा सेल्फ एडवोकेसी ग्रुप को देख के, उन बच्चों ने कितना कुछ किया है. लेकिन वही बच्चे जब वो अपनी मर्जी से करते हैं, वॉलंटियर करते हैं करने को, उसके बाद जो मेरे फ्रेंड्स बने, वहां भी आई डोंट नो पीछे से कुछ मैसेज था. कई मेरी फ्रेंड्स के बच्चे स्पेशल बच्चे थे, स्पेशल नीड्स बच्चे थे, उनके साथ भी मेरी जर्नी स्टार्ट हुई. कईयों के साथ तो जर्नी अब तक चलती है. और वन ऑफ देम इज एन ऑटिस्टिक गर्ल, शी इज नाउ 30, शी स्टेज इन अ होम इन देहरादून. लेकिन उसको भी कॉन्सेप्ट था कि मैं कुछ, मेरी सैलरी आनी चाहिए. सैलरी मिलती है उसको, लेकिन सैलरी बाद में आई. पहले उसको हमने वॉलंटियर की तरह स्टार्ट किया. उसने अपने घर में बोला मैं करूंगी वॉलंटियर, अगेन अपनी मर्जी से. आज वो शी इज बेटर ऑफ, तो वो जिस कैटेगरी में रहती है वो बेटर है बाकी बच्चों से. तो वो अपना खाना खा के, या उससे पहले वो मुझे कभी रोज फोन करके कहती है मेरी ड्यूटी है, मैं खुद जा रही हूँ. और उसी ड्यूटी करते करते वो उन बच्चों को देखती है जिनको हेल्प चाहिए होती है खाना खाने में. आज क्योंकि उसने अपना स्किल एनहांस किया है अपनी फैमिली से, अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से, आज उसको सैलरी मिलती है 3,000 की, जो कि वो अपने पास रखती है और बहुत खुश होती है. सो समवेयर वॉलंटियरिज्म ये नहीं कि आपकी उम्र, आप रिटायर हो गए. बहुत लोग हमारे यहाँ कहते हैं कि मैं रिटायरमेंट के बाद वॉलंटरी काम करूंगा क्योंकि अब तक मुझे टाइम नहीं है. वॉलंटियरिज्म किसी उम्र में भी शुरू हो सकता है. और लास्टली जो मैं कहना चाहती हूँ, जो हमारा एक्चुअली रिस्पेक्ट फॉर वॉलंटरी, आई एम सॉरी, इतनी नहीं है. क्योंकि कहीं पे जो सोसाइटी, मैं अपना एग्जांपल बताती हूँ. मैं वॉलंटियर रही हूँ, मेरी छोटी सिस्टर है, वो एक जॉब में थी, लेकिन मेरी मदर नो मोर, वी लॉस्ट हर लास्ट ईयर. वो हमेशा मुझे कहती थी तुम कहाँ जा रही हो. आई सेड आई हैव अ मीटिंग. शी सेड बट तुम तो वॉलंटियर हो. उनको मुझे एहसास दिलाना पड़ा. मैंने उनको बोला वॉलंटियर की भी उतनी कमिटमेंट होती है, बल्कि ज्यादा होती है. वॉलंटियर चाहे सैलरी नहीं लेता, लेकिन उसका कमिटमेंट लेवल, अगर छुट्टी लेनी है तो एप्लीकेशन डालनी है. ये नहीं कि आप वॉलंटियर हैं, आप देर से पहुंच रहे हैं. I think if you opt for being a volunteer, it requires for a much higher level of commitment. This is with due respect to everybody who's in a job. I mean, there also you require commitment, but I think if you volunteer to do something, you've chosen to do that without a salary. Also, द जनरल इंप्रेशन इज ये तो वॉलंटियर सर्विस दे रहे हैं, पता नहीं कैसी होगी, यू नो, वर्सेस अ पेड सर्विस। लेकिन जहां मैं काम करती हूँ संजीवनी सोसाइटी में, कोविड के दौरान so many people reached out to us because हम डिलीवर कर रहे थे, चाहे हम वॉलंटियर्स थे, ट्रेन थे। एंड लास्टली आई वर्क वेरी क्लोजली विद फैमिलीज ऑफ कैंसर पेशेंट्स, स्पेशली जो कि अपनी लास्ट स्टेजेस पे है, पैलेटिव पे है। वहां पे हम जब मीटिंग करते हैं वंस अ वीक, बहुत उनका दर्द होता है, इतना दर्द होता है कि जो गुजर रहा है, जिसको टर्मिनल इलनेस है, वो तो जा ही रहा है, प्लस उनकी जो फैमिलीज हैं, बच्चे हैं, मेंबर्स हैं, उनको भी लगता है कि हम क्या, बिकॉज दे हेल्पलेस, यू नो, आई मीन सब कुछ कर लिया, मेडिसिन कर ली, सब कुछ कर लिया, लेकिन व्हाट नेक्स्ट। जब वहां पे फैमिली बैठती है, आइडिया है कि उसी फैमिली के मेंबर्स आपस में बात करें तो वो एक दूसरे का दुख समझते हैं, और उनमें से कई फिर अपने आप वॉलंटियर करते हैं कि वो आगे जाके किसी और फैमिली को जो इस चीज से गुजर रही है उसके बारे में बात करेंगे। उससे ये होता है कि क्योंकि अगर मैंने वो दुख देखा है या आपने वो दुख देखा है और आप रीच आउट करते हैं, तो वो ज्यादा आप लोगों से जुड़ सकते हैं, और ऐसे जुड़ते जुड़ते हम एक बहुत लार्ज बॉडी बना सकते हैं वॉलंटियर्स की। और लास्टली, क्योंकि समय बहुत कम है, मैं एक छोटी सी बात कहना चाहूंगी कि कहीं पे जो भी हमारे रूल्स बनाते हैं या आरसीआई है या ऐसी कुछ संस्थाएं हैं, वी नीड सम बेसिक कोर्सेज फॉर वॉलंटियर्स। मैंने अभी 16 घंटे का एक पैलेटिव केयर पे मैं काम तो कर रही हूँ, लेकिन मेरे पास कोई अपना स्किल एनहांस करने के लिए नहीं था, तो एम्स का जो यूनिट है उन्होंने एक कोर्स किया। तो जो भी ऐसी संस्थाएं हैं जो ये करती हैं, अगर वो छोटे छोटे मॉड्यूल 4 घंटे के 5 घंटे के कर ले, उसमें एक रिस्पेक्ट भी मिल जाती है, और जो ये काम करते हैं उन, आई मीन वी कुड बी डूइंग एनीथिंग, लेकिन उसमें एक प्रॉपर फिनेस आ जाती है। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, Madhu. Thank you. So, can we request Sangeeta ji now from Manovikas to have the deliberations? Yeah.
हेलो ऑल, गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल। मैं मनोविकास के बिहाफ में संगीता, पिछले जो मेरा 16-17 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है वो मैं आपके सामने शेयर करना चाहती हूँ। सबसे तो पहले मेरे जो डिप्लोमा के बच्चे हाथ हिला के दिखाओ, हो कि नहीं आप लोग, क्योंकि आगे यूथ ये है हमारे, और इन्हीं को मैं आगे ये देखना चाहती हूँ। तो सबसे पहले मैं अपने यूथ के लिए क्लैप करवाना चाहती हूँ। मेरा टॉपिक सीबीआर है, कम्युनिटी बेस्ड रिहैबिलिटेशंस। तो मैं मनोविकास के बहुत ही एक, मतलब मैं क्या बोलूं, उस प्रोजेक्ट के लिए हमने बहुत काम किया है, और उस प्रोजेक्ट का नाम ही हमने रखा है साथ साथ। उस प्रोजेक्ट में कम्युनिटी से पीपल विद इंटेलेक्चुअल एंड डेवलपमेंटल डिसेबिलिटी को विद इन 4-5 किलोमीटर 7 किलोमीटर की रेंज में हम लोग सर्वे से लोगों को इकट्ठा करते हैं और 3 डायमेंशंस में काम करते हैं। पहला जो डायमेंशंस होता है सेफ एंड सिक्योर एनवायरनमेंट, जो हर लोग इन बच्चों को दे रहे हैं। दूसरा डायमेंशन एंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट डायमेंशन इज मेक माई चॉइस। हम सभी जब पीपल विद इंटेलेक्चुअल डिसेबिलिटी और किसी फील्ड में काम करते हैं तो चॉइस की बात करना बहुत जरूरी है। हम आप भी कई बार क्या होता है, अपने चॉइस को बताने में असमर्थ होते हैं। और रही बात पीपल विद इंटेलेक्चुअल एंड डेवलपमेंटल डिसेबिलिटी की, तो मेक माई चॉइस एक ऐसा वर्कशॉप है, एक ऐसा प्रोग्राम है जिसमें हम अपने स्टूडेंट से छोटे छोटे चॉइस बनाना उनको सिखाते हैं। सपोज क्या आप पहनना चाहेंगे, क्या आप खाना चाहेंगे, कहाँ आप जाना चाहेंगे। तो मेक माई चॉइस का जो पहला स्टेप्स होता है लिसन टू मी। व्हाई वी गिव दिस नेम लिसन टू मी? उन्हें, मुझे सुनो। हम लोग कई बार ऐसा होता है काम करते करते भूल जाते हैं कि उनको सुनना, और अपनी चीजें उन पे थोपने लगते हैं। तो यहाँ पर इस मेक माई चॉइस की ट्रेनिंग में, मेक माई चॉइस की वर्कशॉप से हम उन जितने भी पीपल विद इंटेलेक्चुअल एंड डेवलपमेंटल डिसेबिलिटी हैं उनको चॉइस बनाना सिखाते हैं, उनकी हर छोटी छोटी बातों को लेकर के। पिछले 2013 से हमने इस वर्कशॉप्स को, इसका नाम दिया और इस वर्कशॉप को डिजाइन किया। और सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि हमारे पीपल विद इंटेलेक्चुअल डेवलपमेंट डिसेबिलिटी में कई बार टेक्स्ट को रीड करना प्रॉब्लम होता है, वो पढ़ नहीं पाते हैं। तो हमने इस पूरे इस मॉडल को इजी रीड मॉडल में कन्वर्ट किया है। इजी रीड का मतलब होता है सिंबॉलिक, ताकि वो एक सिंबल को देख करके आइडेंटिफाई कर सके और अपनी चॉइस को बता सके। तो ये पूरी मॉडल, मैं सबसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि पीछे वो मॉडल है, पूरी बुकलेट है, सिंबॉलिक और इजी रीड में, तो जरूर उसे देखिए और हम इन बच्चों पर इसे अप्लाई करें। ऐसा करने से क्या होता है कि पिछले काफी दिनों से जब हमने इस वर्कशॉप को और इस मॉडल को बच्चों पे अप्लाई किया, तो बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट आज के डेट में अपनी चॉइस को बताना सीख गए। जैसा कि कल आपने भी देखा था सेल्फ एडवोकेट, तो ये जितने भी सेल्फ एडवोकेट्स थे हमारे, इन्होंने सारे ये वर्कशॉप्स को अटेंड किया है और धीरे धीरे ग्रेजुअली ये डेवलप करते करते आज यहाँ पहुंचे हैं। तो ये एक्सपेरिमेंट मनोविकास में काफी दिनों से चलता रहा है और जितने भी रिहेबिलिटेशन एक्सपर्ट बैठे हैं और जो भी लोग बैठे हैं, मैं तो उनसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि ये अपने स्कूल में, कॉलेजेस में कहीं भी ऐसे पीपल विद इंटेलेक्चुअल डिसेबिलिटी हैं तो वहां इसको अप्लाई करें। हमारी टीम इज अवेलेबल फॉर देम, ठीक है। एंड सेकेंड मॉडल आई जस्ट एक्सप्लेन, जब हमने क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ शुरू किया था, क्या होता है समुदाय में, एक परिवार में जब ऐसा बच्चा होता है तो अपने आप परिवार और पेरेंट्स के ऊपर बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं। हमने हमारे पास उस समय की, मैं बता रही हूँ ये बात 2008 और 9 की, हमारे पास उस समय 14-15 बच्चे हुआ करते थे क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ में। हमने एक एक्सपेरिमेंट ये किया कि उन 14-15 बच्चों के पेरेंट को बुलाया, उनसे बात की कि हर 15 डेज में हमारे ये पूरे यूथ आपके घर जाएंगे। क्या होगा वैसे, उस पर्टिकुलर पेरेंट के घर में जो जितने भी नेबरहुड है, सिबलिंग्स हैं और जितने हैं, हमने कहा जितने भी रिलेटिव्स और नेबरहुड के लोग हैं उनको बुला के रखिए, ताकि उनको भी पता चला कि आपके घर में जो ये बच्चे हैं उनके भी अपने फ्रेंड और उनका भी अपना सर्कल है। ऐसे करके हमने ये बहुत एक्सपेरिमेंट करने के बाद काफी अच्छा देखा कि पेरेंट्स के अंदर एक इंकरेजमेंट उनको मिला कि अच्छा मेरा बच्चा तो ऐसा है, अच्छा उसके घर में भी ऐसा है। तो बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसे चेंज होती गई और एक सपोर्टिव एनवायरनमेंट पेरेंट को मिला। और हमारे बच्चों के अंदर कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स, सोशल स्किल्स, ये जब आप विजिट करेंगे फैमिली टू फैमिली तो ऑलमोस्ट ये सब इंक्रीज होगा। तो ये दो मॉडल मैं इसलिए यहाँ बताना चाहती हूँ कि हमने बहुत क्लोजली इसके साथ काम किया और आज यहाँ तक पहुंचे। तो थैंक यू सो मच। और स्पेशली मैं मेक माई चॉइस के लिए बार बार रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि आप इस एक्सपेरिमेंट करें अपने पास। टीम हमारे पास है, हमारी टीम वहां जाएगी, आपको बताएगी और आपके बच्चे के साथ ये एक्सपेरिमेंट करेंगे। तो थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, Ms. Sangeeta, to enlighten us about the benchmark experiment of Manovikas, that is the Make My Choice and Quality of Life. And we all know that you have been succeeded by empowering so many persons with disability through that. And I hope that everybody should adopt that, all the adult persons, they should take it so that one facet of their personality development and life skill development will be completed. Thank you. And with this, we have completed the panel discussion now. And
I think we can invite 6 to 8 questions now because of limited time. So please direct your question to the specific panelist so that panelist can answer that question.
Now the forum is open for questions, please.
Good morning, everybody. I'm clinical psychologist working in Janakpuri and also in Army Public School, Dholakua. My question, the presentations were very nice and very informative. My question is from Dr. Pooja, and I want to ask her that when I also get children with ADHD in my private clinic and also in the school, but it is very difficult for the parents to convince them that they need the medication. and they don't want to go for the medication. And when I, apply Connors third edition for diagnosing ADHD, it is very difficult when they are not, wanting them to go on medication, and we cannot manage them with our therapy in the initial stages, that it is very severe ADHD. So what we should do in that case?
Documentation. Only documentation. It would be really great, your diagnostic process and everything. Immediately the parent is not agreeing for medication. Please do 3 months of their so-called therapy. I don't know what do you use, but behavior modification, involving the school for a daily monitoring. Like I take phone calls on daily basis from all my children with ADHD just to find out how was your day. Did you find any strategy very difficult to use? If so, please discuss with me. So there was a time when my home became a call center, by the way, in the evening. Okay. But it helped a lot. And we have a huge team who takes care of that part. Let's say you did 3 months of this therapy and you are documenting every month your effort and the improvement in the child, whether in home or in school. It is still not improving up to the mark or for his better inclusion. Now start talking to the parent. Don't impose medication on them, but start talking almost in every meeting. Trust me, they would agree.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can I add that? Can we take one question so that
the another question is, you talked about
please add to that.
Yeah.
Sorry, her own voice is echoing.
Sorry. The another question is that many a times I get cases about borderline intelligence. So can we diagnose with borderline intelligence specific learning disability?
No, not according to the Indian Gazette.
No.
Alka ji, she wants something.
But then I hope, but when the child is coming out to be learning disabled along with borderline intelligence, what we should do in that case?
Very unfortunate scenario. CBSE is not agreeing. See, according to DSM-5R now, there is no IQ test actually required for so-called SLD. But CBSE is very, very clear. They are not ready to agree. They say that no, only if the IQ is 85 or above, we will give them any kind of benefit. And we are very nicely sitting in Delhi. Let me tell you, we faced a very big trouble in last 2 years. Suddenly CBSE Regional Center said IQ has to be below 85 for SLD, do their VSMS also and present the case to us. So let's not get into that, dear. There are a lot of paperwork which have to be corrected. You can help them unquoted way. Don't know.
Okay.
Sorry. I want to say something that I have also only heard. There was one legendary professor of psychiatry at what was then the All India Institute of Mental Health in the 50s and 60s. That became NIMHANS in 1974. AIMH had one gentleman called Dr. N.C. Surya. And his famous quote has kind of passed on from generation to generation. And I want to say that to Jan Nair and everybody else with fullest respect. He said, and I quote, I think, patients don't read textbooks and come, unquote. My point is, patients, clients, persons, they don't have to fit into our criteria and definitely not DSM. Please, let's stop quoting DSM and ICD as Bible. Yes, the Indian legal provisions will have to be followed when it comes to legal rights or certification or benefits. But at least as far as the clinical work is concerned or actual ground level helping work is concerned, any combination can happen with anything else. I mean, by DSM saying no, it doesn't exist, it doesn't stop to exist. Okay. So our minds and bodies and our systems have their own way of whatever we go through. It is the science effort to categorize and pigeonhole. That effort need not be complete or perfect. So if you see Gavneet, if you see somebody with borderline intelligence or mind intellectual impairment with SLD, that's it. That person has that. I mean, who am I or DSM to deny that? No. I just said, legal provisions don't have to follow this logic. Law will be law. You can't take it to the next level. I'm talking about clinical work and how much you can help. Sir, please.
Can I please say something?
There are 2-3 important dimensions to it. One, the borderline, which Dr. Pooja has said. Yesterday I talked about it. Yes, it's a gray area and lot of people are suffering, and we honestly speaking can't do much legally because it has not been classified as a disability into the RPD Act, where 21 disabilities are mentioned. Now, how can you help that gentleman? The issue is that fortunately, the Ministry of Justice and Empowerment, they have said it carries 25% disability, right? Weightage wise. When we talk about mild mental retardation 50, moderate 75, severe 90, profound 100. This carries 25% weightage. Now, if you have, we have a category of a multiple disability certificate as well. So if board classifies that, the problem is solved. Let's not go into the legality of it. We have had number of people in this way, if really it is. As simple as that.
I think all the seniors like you people have to talk to CBSE board to just come up with one guideline that even this 25% they would get some help.
You see, then you tell the CBSE people, don't at least give these things, facilities to the people who have gotten the Farji certificates.
Sir, at a
as simple as that.
Can I
so as a practical solution to this, if I may continue, we've been dealing with this over the years, and it's a very, very practical solution. We give too much of weightage to one single board. If CBSE is not giving the provision, there are alternate boards which can definitely be utilized. My students have been moving on to NIOS, wherein CBSE is not given them provisions. And NIOS is a very, very doable and practical board, which gives provisions to our students. It helps them get recognized qualifications also. So eventually, in the long run, it's a win-win situation for both the students and the parents. So my only suggestion here is whenever such a problem comes in wherein immediate solutions are not visible as far as the norms or the rules laid out by CBSE are there, I feel that NIOS really comes to support our students there.
Fair enough. That's another option, but sometimes when the child is already in a school, it is very difficult to get that certificate and it can be applied there. That's the practical difficulty. The second point on this borderline disability, I tell you, if you merge with other disabilities, the person will get the benchmark disabilities. Simple. You merge with the other disabilities. So you go to a proper people. I'll talk about the ignorance in the mental health professional. The people do not know how to help the person because the attitude is what the book says, what the law says, what the other thing says. The attitude is not sometimes, I'm afraid, how to help this particular boy or girl. Yes, two disabilities within. So, plus board is issuing. I have yet to see. I mean, I'm working in last 25 years. Those who do not know me today, but I'm from Satyagraha Hospital as a psychiatry, issued thousands of certificates. None of us has been challenged so far in the court. Remember that, because judge always sees the genuinity and the benefits.
We have some online.
Dr.
Alka wanted to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to talk first about the young lady asked about ADHD. How do you convince parents about medication? You see, you have to ask parents things which they can really practically understand. If my child has spectacles and I tell them, don't wear spectacles, sit on the first bench, keep trying, try hard and see. Will you do that as a parent? You're not going to do that because you know you're depriving your child of something which is beneficial to them. Similarly, with ADHD, there is an alteration in the brain setup. Okay, I won't say only wiring because it goes more than wiring. And without giving the benefit of medication, you're depriving your child of something which is a benefit to them. And you can always put those parents up to another set of parents who have already taken the medication and seen the change in quality of life. So it is a laborious, ongoing process, and sometimes very, very intensive. One has to keep trying and trying and trying to convince them that these medicines have been made specially for children. There's evidence to show that we are giving it exclusively for children, and it's globally, worldwide, we have demonstrated that there's a change in quality of life when you give ADHD medicines. So you can try again, and let's hope that you're successful in that. Point one. Point number two, just as Dr. Rastogi and Dr. Desai just mentioned, unfortunately, the borderlines have got sort of marginalized because they are actually the watershed area where they should be in regular schools, but they don't get the benefits. And what benefits do we need to give them? Something as simple as extra time and vocational subjects. Now, for that, do we honestly need a totally different disability law or something which includes them in the law to give them the benefit? I really have my doubts. See, with NIOS also, NIOS wants us professionals to really give the provisions and justify the need for a writer, which many of them want. For some reason, the boards have changed drastically in the last decade, okay? They are much more approachable, they are much more child-friendly, but yet the willingness to give a writer and benefit to the child, there is a resistance because of maluse. And this thing is ingrained upon them. There's a lot of misuse of certification, which what I beg to differ in the name of humanity is, I really appreciate the comments that Pooja and Ranjana had to say at the ground level. Why will anyone want to fall under this category unless they're compelled to? Why would anyone want to choose to be different from the so-called normal Gaussian curve? It's very, very difficult to be a person with a differential ability or a disability. So for borderlines, what we need to really, really do is change our curriculum to include vocational subject in regular schools and involve them in that. Understanding the disability law, there are two aspects of it. One is this whole issue of benchmark disability. So only if you have benchmark disability, then you get disability benefits. Fair enough. For employment, for tax purpose, for all of that, I understand. But benchmark disability does not prevent an educational institute from giving educational help to any individual, whether you're 10%, 20%, 25%, it doesn't matter. Maharashtra government has come up with the separate state circular, which actually gives benefits to dull normal, to intellectual disability, to everybody gets benefits, because the aim is, let us try and see how much we can promote them. Even if I give somebody all the benefits, if the inherent capacity is not to reach a particular level, are they going to become a PhD? Let's talk about things which are feasible and practical. So delineating the two, education vis-a-vis disability benefit, number one. And second of all, changing whatever is available at a school level to include all these children. I think we have to really think of our mindset.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll go to Manisha Verma for 2 minutes, please.
Very briefly, please.
Very brief, very brief. I think this is the last question. Okay, if Manisha is not there online, then we can go to anybody else from the.
Okay, yeah.
Student is there. Let us take the student.
Hello. May I say something?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak among you guys. So my question is that there was a girl about 6 years of age. She has been raped brutally by 3 people in Nizamuddin. So my question is that how, as an individual and as society, we can prevent that from happening ever again? Ever happening again. This was not in news. It has happened about 3 or 4 weeks before. She was suffering from IDD. None of their parents were ready to answer the questions asked by me or whether my fellow mates in Nizamuddin area.
Yeah. Thank you for raising this issue. And this is such a important question. There are many incidents are coming, and it is only the education and training and the creating awareness. And this type of thing, I don't think you can go by just by saying creating awareness and all. This is the basic values. If a child is 3 years old with ID, this is so saddened to tell, when to hear also it is so saddened that instead of supporting the child, the society is going like this. So I think this is not the forum to discuss. We'll discuss in some other forum. And
there have been many occasions since yesterday when we have come up with this issue about heart-driven passion and all the pain that we feel for everything that goes wrong in the society, vis-a-vis a rational, clinical, helping, empathic, legal approach. Child sexual abuse is a very harsh, extremely unpleasant reality, and people with IDD, unfortunately, are much more often victims than others. Like Gandhi ji said, CSA will have to be another platform. Some of us here commonly work in many areas. We understand the pain that you feel, but CSA has its own laws and clinical and ground level framework. Those, है ना? IDD uske victim hai. But I want to briefly summarize what happened earlier. And Rajesh ji or anybody else, Pooja, please reflect if there is. I think Rajesh Rastogi brought up very important, since yesterday it's been on my mind, multiple disability within the group of IDD. And if one is courageous as a board, you certify that. So if the legal benefits can accrue, very good. If they can't, that will be. My sense, if I understood Dr. Alka, was that Maharashtra board, it seems, is very resistant about scribe and extra time. Our experience in Delhi and I think all over India is that the boards are very flexible about these issues. Hardly any board worries about time and extra scribe. I don't know why the Maharashtra board must have a different position. But
no. Maharashtra board is very flexible. NIOS insists that we do a evaluation for scribe and for the scribe particularly. It's NIOS who wants it separately for borderline.
Okay. Okay.
So, say,
hello. Yeah, wonderful deliberations. I'm a special educator and a teacher educator and researcher in special education for many years now. So I just want to, point one small thing. That when NIS, she said, and Alka ji and all, I think there is a responsibility of the teacher also, whether special educator or general teacher, कि बच्चा का जब पता लग गया है कि ये borderline है या ये सब चीज हो गई है, तो एग्जाम में उस टाइम में थोड़ा अंतर तो होता है, जहाँ पे आपको अपना एक इनिशिएटिव लेना चाहिए कि इसको NIS से फैसिलिटी दिला सकते हैं या इसका अलग से हम स्क्राइब की जरूरत है या नहीं. आई थिंक टीचर का अपना इनिशिएटिव और एक इनिशिएशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिटवीन द क्लिनिशियन and the child and the parent. Thank you so much.
Okay, so like all the good things, this session also needs to come to an end now. So we thank you, Dr. Rika Bishnoi for joining us online, and all the panelists here who have contributed their best. So we hope that we'll have more deliberation like this in future also, and we request Dr. Desai to organize more such sessions in future. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sir, token of recognition.
Token of appreciation and felicitation for the moderators and the panelists. One round of applause. यार तालियां तो बजा दो. आप लोगों में से कोई टीवी शो पे ऑडियंस में नहीं बैठा है, वहां हर 2 मिनट ताली बजानी पड़ती है. वो एंकर कहता है तालियां तालियां. As that happens, because we are already behind schedule. Guptaji, thank you. Yes, sir, sorry. Thank you, sir. Thanks. Okay, we are about 30 minutes behind schedule, but that by Indian standards on a Sunday morning, I am sure is permissible. And we'll have some buffer in the lunchtime. Thank you once again, especially all the panelists, but especially Dr. Sri Kumar and Janti Bujari ma'am. Okay, we have the session 5 on theme 3 now for next, I guess, 90 minutes. I have huge pleasure and privilege and a sense of personal satisfaction in welcoming online my longtime friend, Dr. Santosh Chaturvedi, retired professor of psychiatry, former Dean of Behavioral Sciences, NIMHANS, Bangalore. Santosh, Dr. Chaturvedi, sir, welcome. Equal pleasure and privilege and sense of personal satisfaction in having the other moderator with us, who just walked in, but the session wasn't delayed because of her, Dr. Roma Kumar, Vice Chairperson, Psychology, Sir Gangaram Hospital, please. Santosh, thank you, sir, for being here. And we have a very good panel, I think, for this theme on mental illness related disability issues and dilemmas. Dr. Rajesh Rastogi, former head of the Department of Psychiatry at Safdarjung Hospital and the Medical College attached there. Professor Dr. Aparna Khanna from Lady Arjun College. Varalika Mishra, certified mental health first aider on suicide prevention and editor, journalist, author. And as she says, possibly the youngest person here. And Dr. Agni Shukla, PhD in molecular biology, who is a founder of a peer support community, Warriors Connect group of mental health users. And online, we have Dr. Shiv Kumar, additional professor of psychiatry, a specialist in rehabilitation at NIMHANS, Bangalore. Shiv Kumar?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm there, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Shiv Kumar. I must also say, like I said yesterday, Dr. Nishant, who I'm sure is online from CIP Ranchi, Dr. Nishant and Dr. Shiv Kumar have been on our small scientific committee to help us evolve this entire 2 days program. And so, Shiv Kumar, special thanks to you for all that active interest and contribution too.
Thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Chaturvedi sir and Dr. Roma, you're going to have a bit of a difficult task being moderators, one in person, one online, but I'm sure you will manage with both of you being such experts, and one panelist online, 4 others in person. The floor is yours, sir, both of you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I think we need to be on time. So, and this topic that is there, mental illness related disability, I think it's a very, it's a topic which is very close to my heart. Currently, I myself have been going through this issue with 2 members of my family with the similar issue. And I've been a caregiver, recently a caregiver for my mother, who's 93 years old, with dementia and mood-related disorder at the moment. So I know exactly where we are heading. So without wasting much time, I'll get my co-moderator also to speak, please. Chaturvedi, sir.
No, I think we should, good morning, everyone. I mean, good afternoon, everyone. And let's have the panelists talk about their views that they have, so that we can probably, save some time during this session, and also do not lose any important points. So I think I'll request Dr. Roma Kumar, because you are there in person, I am there only in spirit. So, maybe you can continue inviting the speakers other than those who are going to come online, and then I will chip in the discussion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I will get Dr. Rajesh Rastogi, former head of department, Safdarjung Hospital and VM Medical College, New Delhi, to kindly take the charge right away.
Good morning, everyone. Or maybe good afternoon, everyone. Again, I would like to express my thanks first to Dr. Nimesh, Dr. Bhuvan, and the organizing committee for providing this opportunity. It's a privilege. It's a privilege where the chairperson is Dr. Santosh Chaturvedi, the dean. We have met number of times, and I think he is not only an astute clinician, but an able administrator as well. So it's a privilege, sir, that you are chairing the session along with Dr. Roma Kumar, and it's a privilege to meet you, ma'am. Now, sometimes when the topic is wide open, one does not know from where to start. So let's think. Mental issues related to the disability, issues and dilemma. Let me look at from the patient perspective first, so then other can join and I can give it. Or before that, I would like to start with a quote that WHO report 2011 starts with a quote from Stephen Hawking. And he said, please listen, this is very important quote and I'm quite impressed. The disability need not to be an obstacle to success. The disability need not to be an obstacle to success. I have had motor neuron disease. Those who do not know motor neuron disease, he was not able to walk. He was always in the wheelchair. Yet, it has not prevented me from having a prominent career in astrophysics, the whole another thing which he has contributed significantly, and a happy family life. So he had, in spite of having the disability, everything what a normal or regular or anybody could have had it. So the minded disability is not an obstacle to success. That is what he said. And just another quote also, that only disability in the life is a bad attitude. The only disability in the life is the bad attitude. That is where most of us come into that category, even the medical professional people also. Because I had a great resistance, not from the civil life, starting the clinic within the general OPD, but from my friends only. Now, first difficulty is where to get a diagnosis of a mental illness. Remember that these are marginalized people. उनको बड़ी झिझक होती है, स्टिग्मा होता है फॉरवर्ड आने में, और कभी आ भी जाए और प्रॉपर्ली डायग्नोसिस भी ना हो तो बड़ी तकलीफ होती है. So the first thing is where to get a diagnosis. We need to lead them, we need to provide them where the facilities are. In one of the World Health exhibition, this what you call World Health Day, around 20 or 25 years back, a sister came to me. Sir, कुछ posters बनाए, इनका क्या करें? Nursing students ने. मैंने देखा poster बड़े impressive थे और बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा था. इनका put them into the gallery. And you will not believe, next year we made good posters from the junior residents, senior residents, they quoted, and they made that poster. Now, in Satyagraha Hospital, the psychiatry department is on the 3rd floor, and with the people who goes to medicine surgery, they go via the psychiatry department. A lot of people were going, it's a general OPD, 5-floor OPD. So a lot of attendants used to pass through, and then number of times the people come and said to me, sir, ये पढ़ के तो लगता है मुझे भी इनमें से कुछ तकलीफें हैं. And those who are intelligent enough says कि सर मुझे तो OCD है. कि जो features लिखे हुए थे वहां पे. So the awareness in general, then if they know that here is the facilities available, that is the first thing. The next thing is कि even if you know it, how do you get certified? And certification sometimes is a very tedious procedure. It looks very simple. Government has tried to make it simple also. It is not that. Previously a board was giving it, now one person is giving it. Previously 3 people were giving it. And sometimes one of the board member is absent, and it was very difficult. So then, right, we changed it to the anybody who is present there, option deke, to mareez ko dobara na jana pade. So that is the second thing, from where the disability certificate. Now, as a doctor, as a mental health professional, you need to be aware कि हम मरीज की सुविधा के लिए क्या करते हैं. एक बार मरीज फॉलो अप पे आया, मैंने कहा सर्टिफिकेट मिल गया, बोले नहीं सर, अभी तो वो सर्टिफिकेट हमारे को MRD में 2 बार गए हम मेडिकल रिकॉर्ड डिपार्टमेंट में, और उन्होंने कहा वो क्लर्क छुट्टी पे है और नहीं मिल पाया। मुझे बहुत गुस्सा भी आया और तकलीफ भी हुई कि जो सर्टिफिकेट हमने 1 महीने पहले दे दिया था, उसको 2 चक्कर के बाद भी सर्टिफिकेट नहीं मिला। Then I talked to the procedure. What is the administrative procedure involved in issuing a certificate there from the medical record department? Then I said कि sir आप करते क्या हैं? I talked to the additional medical superintendent. This I am talking about 14-15 years back. He said कि सर एक कॉपी हम रखते हैं, एक कॉपी मरीज को देते हैं और एक कॉपी आपके डिपार्टमेंट में चली जाती है। तो मैंने कहा सर जो मरीज को देने वाली कॉपी वो मैं भी दे सकता हूँ, उसमें किसी के सिग्नेचर तो होते नहीं है, एक्सेप्ट वेयर इट इज कैन बी अलॉटेड फॉर द हाउसिंग पर्पस और सम स्पेसिफिक पर्पस वेयर द बोर्ड इज, वेयर द ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ मेडिकल सुपरिटेंडेंट द एडिशनल मेडिकल सुपरिटेंडेंट साइन द। तो मैंने कहा इसको तो हम भी दे सकते हैं, आपकी कॉपी हम आपको भेज देंगे और हमारे डिपार्टमेंट में रह जाएगी एक कॉपी। तो बोले हाँ हमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है डॉक्टर रस्तोगी। मैंने कहा सर टू एम्फेसाइज, मैंने पहले ही कह दिया था कि गवर्नमेंट कोर्ट की तरफ से, डिसेबिलिटी कमिश्नर की तरफ से गाइडलाइंस है कि विद इन अ 1 month ऑफ एन एप्लीकेशन द सर्टिफिकेट हैज टू बी इशूड। सो इफ वी डोंट इशू इट विद इन अ मंथ देन वी आर इन ट्रबल। सो ही कुड सी दैट पॉइंट, ही कुड सी दैट इनहेरेंट थ्रेट इन इट एंड ही अलाउड मी। एंड यू विल नॉट बिलीव इट हैज सेव्ड लॉट ऑफ inconvenience to my patient and their family members. The another inconvenience which I observed in the patients of these issues difficulty was to get a certificate you need 4 or 5 documents. Many times the family and the patients are from the villages background and they are not up to that level, and उनको नहीं मालूम होता है कि फोटो है या नहीं है या आधार कार्ड अपडेटेड है या नहीं, उसमें वो चीज की कमी है। अब वो आ गए तो कई बार वो लोग बड़े फ्रस्ट्रेटेड हो जाते थे जब कोई छोटी सी चीज को रिसेप्शन वाले मना कर देते। I also found a way about this. Is I am saying कि once you want to help, you can help. I called the people, I called the faculty meet also. मैंने कहा यार हम सर्टिफिकेट बना दें जिस दिन मरीज आता है, उसको देख के यदि मरीज जेन्युइन है तो आप सर्टिफिकेट बनाओ, whatever your findings are. I am not saying कि आप उसको दे दो आप उस दिन जिस दिन आपके डॉक्यूमेंट पूरे हो जाए। तो उसमें खाली रिलेटिव भी आके ले जाएगा उसके बिहाफ पे, उनके जो केयर टेकर है वो भी ले जाएंगे। So it has been done. So like number of things you can do for the patients, they have a issue, but just don't narrate the issue and barrier. Look at the solutions. You will find it. You will find it if you are really, really motivated to do it. एक था कि one of the psychologists came to me कि सर हमारा यहाँ पे पास में स्कूल है सफदरजंग के, but the certificate which we give is not valid. How will you do that? How you can help? I said कि अच्छा आप अपने, हमारा तो लोड होता ही है, पहले फैकल्टी को बुलाया, उनको कन्विंस किया, आप 3-3, 4-4 बच्चे हमारे हर उसमें ऐड कर दें। तो पहले हम 1 month दिया करते थे, फिर fortnightly थे, and the last time when I retired it was weekly we were issuing the certificate. हमने कहा हम उनमें एडजस्ट कर दें, and we started doing. We have finished with one school, the another school came, we gave. So simultaneously then we were giving the certificate those who are not getting the certificate. So these are some of the difficulties which I see are major. I'm not discussing about the poverty and other things because of the mental illness they drift into, then vicious cycle set in. I'm not talking about right now, which we can't do much about it. I'm talking about these are the practical difficulties, which if we wish to help, we can help sometimes. And many times the guidance is required. One thing, I'll take another 3, 4, 5 minutes. किसी ने सिगमंड फ्रॉइड से पूछा कि 3 महत्वपूर्ण चीजें, those who do not know Sigmund Freud, father of psychoanalysis, 3 महत्वपूर्ण चीजें कौन सी हैं? तो उन्होंने कहा आइडेंटिटी, मतलब अपन जब किसी से मिलते हैं तो सबसे पहले यही पूछते हैं तुम्हारा नाम क्या है। तो आप सोचो यदि आपका नाम नहीं है तो आपको कितनी अनसर्टेनिटी हो जाती है जिंदगी के अंदर जीने में। यार मैं क्या बताऊं इसको, इसने तो पूछ लिया मेरा नाम क्या है। आपको आज तक कोई इंसान ऐसा नहीं मिला जिसका नाम नहीं है। The second point, he said work. Work gives the identity again and enhances the identity and is pleasure and satisfaction. The second most important thing is the work. And third thing is the family life, the people who love. So I'll focus on the work. Now, these disabled people, we all know that Persons with Disability Act of 1995 had 7 disability. It was named as Persons with Disability. Now we changed it to the 2016 December and it became the Rights of Person with Disability. अधिकतर लोग इस पर ध्यान नहीं देते पहले वर्ड के ऊपर, खाली 21 डिसेबिलिटी पे ध्यान देते हैं. Focus is on the rights of the person. If they know their rights and if we can create awareness, most of the issues will be resolved. So now the issue was the job. The persons with disability and जो empowerment हैं, they created the Ministry of Social Justice. They created a committee under the chairmanship of secretary, and then it was a subcommittee. And I was the chairperson of that committee, where we have a professor from Nimans. I mean, the director Nimans. On behalf of director Nimans, we had one person. From AIMS, we had Dr. Shafali Gulati. From Nimans, we had, I think, Dr. Jagdisha. And then we had one from the NGO sector, Action for Autism, Madam Mary Barua. And then we had 2 persons from NEI PIDD. So 2 directors from different areas. So we had for these 4 disabilities: intellectual disability, autism spectrum disorder, mental illness, and one more I'm missing. Which one? ASD, autism spectrum disorder. So these were the 4 disability, and you will be surprised that we, after a lot of persuasions and fights and these things, our committee work was identification of the job for these people, because they're from 3% into the rights of the Disability Act 4%, and 1% include these 4 plus multiple disability also. There is a bias there, which I yesterday pointed it out. Let us see the benefits goes to the most deserving fellows. Now, out of all, for a mother, everyone is deserving. If a child is having SLD, if a child is having autism spectrum disorder, if a child is having mental illness, if a child is having whatever the other aspect mixed. So for them, but as a mental health professional, sometimes I wonder, with not disregard to any of the disability, is that those who are deserving get the maximum. But unfortunately, in this test, in these specific circumstances, one category will supersede. And that is what it has happened, which I learned, which I pointed it out. But because of the act, we could not do, we can't change that. 1% is for everyone right now. But I said that there should be a provision in next few years, is that 25% it should rotate each category, or each category 25%, or every year it should rotate. We'll see. In due course of time, we will see which category gets the maximum number of jobs. Is that category is unfair to the other category? So we have created 3,566 posts. 3,566 posts. It has a 1,200-page documentation and everything, that report. It was really a difficult task, because we do not know what kind of a job will suit them. There was no such guidelines laid down before us to work on it. But I am grateful that committee, they have worked vigorously and sincerely, and with the sole purpose of benefiting the disabled. So Group A, they do not want it to give. Sometimes bureaucracy, the things are not easy. They said, how can a autism spectrum disorder will be a gazetted officer? Then we fought with them. And 1,046 posts for Group A we have created. Group B 515, Group C 1,724, and Group D 281. So these are the posts which we created, and this was notified on 4th January 2021, And then it was advertised that people have joined in this category. And I'm very pleased, very happy that now they have a reservation in the central government job. Once they have a reservation in the central government job, I'm sure the private sector will always take a lead because they have a component. With this, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I think it was very well illustrated, and you know what the difficulties are coming. I think you illustrated them very well. I think let's go. Anything, Dr. Chaturvedi, you want to say?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Dr. Rastogi has highlighted the very important points. But you know, let's. I mean, we have been listening a lot about certification, and mental illness related disability issues go beyond that. You know, so though this is important, but in the end, the person with disability has to live and live in this society, live in this world, with or without certificate, and without government support. But social support is very important. So I hope, you know, I would urge the speakers to, you know, let's discuss issues in which we can help directly. By we, I mean professionals, society, and people in general, and everyone. Unless we involve everyone, the stigma will always remain. I think, though on one hand, certification is essential, on the other hand, certification is actually a stigma because we are certifying that. We are certifying the stigma. Let's go beyond that. Quality of life is not only about money or earning and job. It's also about satisfaction. It's about peace of mind. It's about a whole lot of things. And it's all about finding a meaning in life and feeling in things. So let's hope the other speakers would briefly address these issues also. And let's see, you know, what can we means the world, the society do for persons with disability. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Can we call the next speaker, Dr. Roma?
Professor Dr. Aparna Khanna.
मैं लेडी कॉलेज में पढ़ाती हूँ और एक शिक्षक की पोजीशन से आज अपने इस पर्टिकुलर सेशन में इश्यूज एंड डायलेमास पे थोड़ा सा मेरे अनुभव में जो भी सर्कमस्टांसेस मुझे दिखे हैं और खासकर युवाओं के से जुड़े वो आपके साथ शेयर करना चाहूंगी और केवल समस्या ही नहीं उसके जो भी हम लोगों ने अपनी तरफ से कुछ सॉल्यूशंस ढूंढे वो भी शेयर करूंगी so that maybe those micro experiments, those small strategies can perhaps be scaled up by people who are in similar positions as I, where we interact with young people on a regular basis. So अगर हम युवाओं की बात करें तो सबसे पहली जो उनकी जब हायर एजुकेशन के रास्ते पे जब वो चलते हैं तो सबसे पहली उनकी जो चैलेंज आता है वो एडमिशन के टाइम पे आता है कि हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन में उनको एडमिशन कैसे दी जाए और एडमिशन का क्या क्राइटेरिया रहेगा। कईयों को अपने सर्टिफिकेशन की नॉलेज होती है कि किस तरह के सर्टिफिकेट प्रोवाइड करें ताकि उनकी ऑनबोर्डिंग या एडमिशन प्रोसेस आसान हो, बट आई हैव बीन रेगुलरली कमिंग अक्रॉस पेरेंट्स हु आर perhaps because of lack of awareness and sometimes because of misguidance by so-called maybe teachers, experts. They come up, they assume that they have certain certificates which will be recognized by the university system. So please, I think those of us who are here and are as caregivers, as even medical practitioners who are guiding these children, please, I would use this forum to request you to help the process of admission also in a way smoothened for the young people, so that these people who are coming up with disabilities are able to onboard successfully.
The second challenge is that once they are here, even this year in admissions, there have been certain children with learning disabilities who found it extremely difficult to get admissions. So we need to create awareness at that level. Once on board, then to sensitize the teachers, the university system already has certain provisions inbuilt. For instance, the equal opportunity cell, there's a mentorship program, counseling hai, counselors hai, at least positions hai. और इसके अलावा मेडिकल रूम्स हैं जहां पर कि अगर कहीं पे कोई जरूरत हो तो एनी पर्सन हैविंग एनी इश्यूज कैन बी गोइंग एंड सीकिंग सम काइंड ऑफ an assistance. But despite that, the challenge comes when it comes to recognizing what an issue and being prepared to give help. Most of us lack awareness. Despite our best intentions, we are not equipped with the basic skills of how to mentor, of how to counsel, of how to just give correct information and guide a person in the right manner. So I, again, using this very august forum and I think the leadership of Dr. Desai, I would like to request if we can have some initiatives to equip not just faculty but students, other students, that is the peer group, as well as other people involved in higher education also, to be sensitized to the needs of children. And again, not those with recognized disabilities, because those are known. Ones with certificate of disability are the ones who have been recognized and certified for a permanent problem. But there are many young people who have certain periods in their lifespan where they are going through ups and downs and need help at that time, and are not so abled in those periods. So how do we recognize them and how do we help them? If we can have small, as Madhuji said, small initiatives, small training sessions to equip us, we'll be able to do our job much better. Apart from this, I think a lot of focus should, many times it's either the person, the young people are not able to seek help, that is, they're not able to communicate their needs, and other times we are not able to give them the right guidance, which also means not able to communicate. So communication means effective listening as well as effective speaking, or speaking the right words. So how do we offer that initial advice or that psychological first aid? I know there are lots of modules, there are a lot of people who are doing good work, but I would, again, using this forum, I would like to request, let's put that on ground, let's operationalize it, let's execute it, so that in the end, again, I know there are a limited number of qualified practitioners. They cannot be taking on all the burden, but still, if we are able to identify properly and offer just the beginning help and the guidance to seek qualified help, that too would be a big assistance to the children or these young people who are coming with issues of disability and their challenges. Having a multi-stakeholder approach, which I feel involving parents, also equips us and enables us in the educational institutions to look after the needs of these young people. So a robust system wherein not just mentorship or counseling of the young person, him or herself, but also their parents and caregivers will make it more meaningful. Previous speakers have also talked of partnership. So seeing some of these problems, I feel some micro, as I said, some micro experiments that we have done at our end, try to organize interactive sessions, calling them, giving them contemporary names like chatathons and even in game sessions kind of activities, where using a campaign mode involving young people not only in content creation but also delivery of those innovative tools and techniques like games and stories and other methods, having them to initiate that conversation also has helped. So whatever little experience or contribution that we have done at our end, I'll be happy to share personally with people who are interested to join hands. Together only we can be building an environment in educational institutions which are actually inclusive and which promote diversity, and create an environment where offering any kind of a support to a person with a disability, particularly mental disability, is not a matter of privilege that the so-called normal people are giving. We need to normalize it in a way that it is their right just as much as it is ours. So it is, I think it is these young people sitting at the back who should take on that onus. And unless we create a demand for that, we will not be able to look at the supply end, because only things that are demanded get sold. So please look after that aspect and raise that voice. And I think it's time now. पहले हम कहते थे हर एक पढ़ाई हर एक, अब it's time now कि हर एक जो है आगे आए और जोड़े अनेक. We need to strengthen this campaign on ground and create a demand for seeking these services and equipping ourselves to help each other and ensure we give the rights to the young people that are part of our social system. Thank you.
Thank you, Aparna. I think you very well said that we need to create some awareness and sensitization around the topic. You spoke about learning disabilities, and I completely agree with you. And also comes the fact of inclusivity. When we talk of inclusion, I think it's not just academic inclusion that we need to focus on. And as rightly said by Chaturvedi sir, that we need to look into the psychosocial aspects. A lot of children with learning disabilities are actually landing up with emotional health issues. And I think we need to address those, especially in families where there's a lot of expectation from children to perform academically and come up to stages where they have to become those 5 professionals. We need to sensitize parents, the parent community, a lot more than anyone else. Apart from the community, I think it's the parents who need assistance on understanding how to navigate conversations with children apart from academic excellence. Thanks, Aparna. Dr. Chaturvedi, do you want to say something?
No, I think I fully agree with you. And now we can ask Dr. Shivkumar, who has been my colleague, and he has tremendous experience in providing psychosocial rehabilitation for people with mental health problems, especially severe mental health problems. So maybe they know more about the practical issues which persons with mental health problems and their families feel. Yeah, Shiva, can we request you to share your views?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon, one and all who have been a part of this particular session. I would like to dwell upon some of the when it comes to persons with mental illness. I think all of us should be aware that there is a Government of India gazetted scale called Indian Disability Evaluation and Assessment Scale, which came out in 2002 as a work of the Rehabilitation Subcommittee of Indian Psychiatric Society. So they made this original draft at that particular point of time, and but it was not accepted in total, and then it was modified. So what did the original scale say, and what does the modified scale say? The original scale was limited only to 4 disorders, that is schizophrenia, bipolar affective disorder, OCD, and then dementia. While the revised academic, the IDEA scale actually opens it up to any person with any mental illness. And any mental illness is operationalized as mental illness except mental retardation. So for that matter, even people with substance use, other degenerative conditions, they are also eligible for disability certification. And the second major change was, like original scale said that we need to see how many months a person is disabled over the last 2 years. So it was months disabled in the previous 2 years, while the revised schedule actually says the duration of illness. So if it is a score of 0 to 2 years, then you get a score of 1. 2 to 5 years, you get a score of 2. 5 to 10 years, a score of 3. And 10 years and above, you get a scale of 4. So this is what the Indian Disability Evaluation and Assessment Schedule actually says. Some of the lacuna which continue to persist till time, which actually leads to issues like this particular scale, which has been gazetted, remains silent on the issue of treatment. Because all of us know that the treatment plays a major role in disability. So for many patients, like they may be completely disabled by the time they are brought to the original OPD. But once you start treatment, the person may actually improve dramatically, that the person no longer has any disability. So the scale does not take a stance on the level of disabilities. So it is left to the discretion of the certifying medical board, who actually have to take a particular call on this particular thing. Earlier, there was this era of paper certificates, where disability certificate was issued in paper. Now we have moved to the unique disability identity card, that is the UDID scheme, where people can apply online through savlambancard.gov.in, which the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and specifically the Department for Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, Divyanjan, has actually made this particular portal where people can actually apply online, and it can actually go to the respective closest medical facility which is actually there. And the practical issue here with this UDID is, earlier, like, people could take the certificate from the treating hospital, like especially in major cities, I think in Delhi or in Bangalore or Mumbai, etc. The issue is that we have a lot of migrants. So people who actually are belonging to a different part of the country, but they have migrated to a different part and then they need the services. And all of us know that poverty is actually, like, disability is overrepresented among persons with poverty. So the practical issue is, like, when one applies for UDID, say for example, a person is originally from Bihar and they have not changed the address. When they apply for UDID, then it actually goes to the medical authority close nearby to their original residence and not necessarily the residence where they are currently staying. For example, they may be staying in Bangalore, but the original address is in Bihar. So now, for example, in NIMHANS, where Professor Chaturvedi was earlier the head, and then I had worked under him. So the issue is, like, NIMHANS can actually issue UDID cards only for people who are from South Bangalore. So if a person has a local address proof of North Bangalore, NIMHANS actually cannot take that particular address proof and then do that. So recently we have actually submitted and we have requested the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment under this UDID scheme that patients actually be allowed, or at least the institutions which cater to patients across the country, they be allowed to pull in the Solemn Card UDID applications and then be allowed and the opportunity to certify disability for them. So actually in the RPWD Act, there is this provision that they can actually get a disability certificate from the nearest from the treating hospital. So many times, like in tertiary care institutions where we see patients from across the country, I think some of these places, I believe that it is only a small stuttering kind of a block right now. But I think that once we lobby all along, I think it should be possible that people who have applied for UDID card from different parts of the country, they can actually get it from the treating hospital and not necessarily from a hospital close by to their residence. And one more issue and dilemma which I would like to highlight here is that under the RPWD Act, like, even though the disability reservation has been given for jobs, like which Professor Rastogi had actually alluded to, like intellectual disability, autism spectrum disorder, multiple disabilities, and specific learning disability and mental illness, all together being given 1% reservation. Unfortunately, when it comes to education, 5% reservation is given, but there is no specific category under that, like how much of this actually goes to a person with mental illness. So I think this is something in which we actually need to deliberate on. And I would also like to draw your attention to studies on disability certification from across the country. One striking finding which has been there from across the country is that males are overrepresented. Nearly 2/3 of the disability certificates are issued to males, and only 1/3 of disability certificates are issued to females. So there are studies from across the country, including, I think, from Safdarjung, where Professor Rastogi was associated. There are studies from Nimans Hospital, and we recently did a multicentric study where about 11 hospitals, like tertiary care institutions from across the country, were actually there, including an NGO. And the finding is consistent that females are actually underrepresented in this. So nearly only 1/3 is actually coming to females. And one of the reasons is that there will be a bias when it comes to, because of socio-cultural values, that a male member is considered at not at a premium to what a female member is considered, and they may not be coming to the hospital per se. And the second is also the issue of stigma. Because, like as Dr. Chaturvedi pointed out, once you have a disability certificate or a card which is actually linked, then it is a certificate, or it is actually considered a stigma to say that, like, I have mental illness and I am already disabled and I am availing benefits. It may actually affect the future marital prospects of females. So that may be one reason why family members may actually be a bit hesitant to apply for a disability certificate, especially when it comes to females. And another practical issue is that a person with mental illness actually needs to sign, like, on this particular certificate earlier. So especially when a person is paranoid, etc., they may actually have issues when it comes to signature and then applying for this particular disability certificate. That is again a dilemma when it comes for it. And one more issue which I would like to highlight is, among all the psychiatric disorders, like, or maybe we consider under mental health issues. So developmental disabilities, especially intellectual disability, is the most common disability to be certified across the country. And second comes mental illness. And in mental illness, schizophrenia is the most common mental illness, which is to be certified, followed by bipolar affective disorder, and then followed by dementia. So this is the finding from Indian multicentric study. And what we also found from this multicentric study is that in conditions where there is no treatment or the impact of treatment is likely to be minimal, for example, dementia, the disability certificate is issued pretty early on. Like the person comes and then the duration of illness on an average is about 4 years, 5 years, etc. Then the disability certificate is issued. But when it comes for mental illness, like especially like schizophrenia or bipolar affective disorder, the duration of illness by which a disability certificate is issued is actually 11 to 12 years. And there is a study by Schizophrenia Research Foundation that disability in schizophrenia actually plateaus by the age of 5 years. So it does not increase or evolve beyond that. So there is a case for us mental health professionals to look at what is the duration of illness when the person comes to us, and we give an adequate trial if the person is not on an adequate treatment so far, and then we look at an earlier certification rather than prolonging it and then actually certifying when the person actually comes. Because many people are actually not aware that mental illness is a disability. When it comes to intellectual disability, autism spectrum disorder, specific learning disabilities, a lot of people are aware about it. There are parent advocacy groups, including Parivar for intellectual disability. And then there are other NGOs working for autism, including Action for Autism. And specific learning disability has received a lot of highlight since the movie Tare Zameen Par actually came. So many people are actually aware that this is a disabling condition. But when it comes to mental illness, people are actually not aware that this is among the conditions which is included. So I think that as mental health professionals, we should play a key role in sensitizing the patients who come, tell them that this is a disability, encourage people to take a disability certificate, and also avail of various benefits. And in this regard, from Psychiatric Rehabilitation Services NIMHANS, we brought out a pamphlet detailing what are the various welfare benefits which a person with mental illness or mental health condition can actually avail. And the awareness about this is pretty poor. So what we actually are doing is, whenever a disability certificate is issued, we also give out a soft copy of this pamphlet or hard copy, which is translated in Hindi as well as in Kannada. So we give out a hard copy of this pamphlet to them so that the caregivers and then the patients are aware that these are the rights which I can actually have. And these are the disability benefits which I can actually avail. And one important barrier, or actually one benefit which persons with mental illness do not get, is railway reservation. Like railway concession, like many people are actually getting it, but it is actually meant only for persons with intellectual disability. The Ministry of Railways website does not explicitly state mental illness. So I think we have sent a representation to the Ministry of Social Justice, but this is one area where different stakeholders can actually come together and we can press to the government that mental illness
said it very, very well.
Yes,
we're running out of time at the moment, but you really spoke very well regarding all the mental illness and all the certifications and the awareness regarding that. Thank you so much. Can we have the next speaker? And I think we need to keep up to time because we're running short of time. The next speaker is Varalika Mishra. She's a certified mental health first aider on suicide prevention, and she's also an editor, journalist, author.
Am I audible now? Okay. First of all, immense gratitude to everyone for having me here. To be honest, I'm feeling quite small because I guess everybody is an expert over here, and considering me over here speaking, I'm not too sure whether I would be able to, make an impact, but I would do my bit here in terms of telling everyone what exactly I am doing. So like ma'am mentioned, I am a mental health advocate and a certified mental health first aider on suicide prevention. So my journey started in 2019 when I myself was going through depression and anxiety. And that actually instilled in me to do something about mental health. Like we're all aware, even in educated families, people who are educated, they do not really give importance to mental health per se. I mean, everybody is aware about physical health, but when we talk about mental health, we hesitate in talking. So I guess my own personal journey really encouraged me to do something, to take up a course about suicide prevention, because I guess everybody, especially in the youth, There are a lot of people suffering through mental illness, and I would like to quote WHO. WHO says that in India, 90 million people are going through mental health issues and they are not even aware about it. So like we heard over here, everyone spoke about, how mental health is a stigma per se. But as a society, what are we doing in ground level? So we have professionals like psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, who are doing wonderful work. But as a lay person, I think each individual can do something about spreading awareness on mental health. So if I have to talk about my experience, I have my own initiative called Your Story is Important.
Excuse me, Miss Mishra. Please confine to disability. Okay, we are going to talk only about disability and issues related to disability, and not about mental health in general. Though I understand your point of view is very important, but maybe this is not the right forum. So can you
I was
please
coming to
confine
that
to
topic only.
disability?
I
Yeah.
was just coming
Okay,
to that
yeah.
topic.
Please come to that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. So basically, the terminology of mental health with regard to disability, there is a very strong connection with it. People who have a disability also have mental health issues, and it is very important to be sensitive towards them. And at each individual level, we can be sensitive and do our bit to spread awareness. I would like to mention that as per the new education policy 2020, there is a mention of mental health and socio-emotional learning, which talks about being sensitive and educating children. So everything starts at the ground level. When we talk about schools, parents, teachers, and students need to be sensitized about mental health and disability. Only when we ourselves are educated, then can we understand what exactly one feels, when they go through a mental health issue or have a disability. Also, at the same time, it is very important to be sensitive in terms of the language we use when we talk about disability. Very casually, these days we see people mock at people who have a disability. So it's important that one rectifies, such a myth that is happening in the society, and we do our bit. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Varalika. Thank you so much. Thank you for talking about how important it is to prevent the idea of suicide, and it is very much prevalent with disability and the disability-related mental illness. Can we have Dr. Avni Shukla? She's a peer support community warriors connect. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I realize I'm the only thing standing between you and your lunch, but I'll still try to keep your attention. So, pehle to I'll really like to thank the organizers, Dr. Nimesh Desai and Dr. Alok. आपने मुझे इस panel पे invite किया, और मेरे लिए तो ये ऐसी पहली opportunity है, क्योंकि मैं बहुत recently mental health के field में काम करने लगी हूँ. लेकिन मेरा experience mental health के साथ तो काफी लंबा रहा है. Because I've been living with bipolar disorder since the past 16, almost 17 years now. So because of this, professionally, my introduction is a bit messed up because I've been a nomad when it comes to my career. It started with being a neuroscientist in Germany to being an assistant professor in India, then healthcare consultant in corporate, and अब मैं एक peer support community चला रही हूँ for those like me. Those who have been living with a mental illness or caring for someone like that. So today's topic of interface between disability and mental health, in my opinion, is very nuanced. इसके बहुत पहलू हैं, लेकिन मैं सिर्फ उस पे focus करूँगी जहाँ पे मेरा domain है, the perspective of the members of our community. These are members who have lived experience of mental illness, but not severe permanent impairment. मैं ये इसलिए कह रही हूँ almost disclaimer की तरह, because I myself and my community members fall in this category, because our community offers empathetic support and respect while discussing our constant struggles, but it does not offer any kind of crisis support or rehabilitation. तो हमारे community में हर member की इतनी तो functionality है कि वो हमारे online और offline activities में part ले पाएं. That said, mental illness greatly impacts most aspects of our life. And this is what we feel, and that's what we support each other through. क्योंकि frankly दवाइयाँ treatment के लिए होती हैं, therapists coping mechanisms में help करते हैं, लेकिन the actual healing often happens in a community among people like yourselves. तो जैसे सर आपने कहा that the biggest disability is a bad attitude, वो actually good attitude लाने के लिए पहले healing होनी पड़ती है. So मैंने अपने community members से पूछा, do you feel your mental health condition is a disability? And to my surprise, almost equally divided opinion था. There were more yes than no. जिन्होंने कहा no, they don't have a disability. They think they have difficulties, just like everyone else has difficulties. मैं भी इस category में हूँ. Because apart from seeking help from my psychiatrists and therapists, I have worked a lot on the outlook towards life that I've had. So अब मेरी condition relatively better है, मेरे episodes milder हैं, लेकिन many times I have been very severely depressed, and during those episodes I have felt fully disabled. पर अब भी जब हम disability की बात कहते हैं तो दिमाग में physical disability आती है, वो भी जिसमें लोग दूसरों के ऊपर fully dependent होते हैं. So the government may have acknowledged mental illness as a disability, but this has not percolated through the society at large, and even not among people with mental illness. So जिन्होंने कहा yes, I have a disability, it was not because they were aware of the Rights of Persons with Disability Act of 2016 or their eligibility for disability certificates, none of that. उन्हें लगता है कि वो general public के comparison में low performers हैं. They say they cannot manage or retain stressful jobs. It was harder for them to study. They have social anxiety. And simply कि उनको medicines लेनी पड़ती हैं to remain stable, उनको वही disability लगती है. कुछ ने कहा कि medicines की side effects की वजह से they are not able to function as effectively as others. लेकिन हम we can't do much about it. We have to take medications to remain stable. In fact, हमारी community में हम इसको बहुत endorse करते हैं that you have to be compliant to psychiatric medications. So they've accepted that, but that's how they feel. And I am not a clinician, but I'm taking the liberty to say that ये individuals मेरे नजरिए में तो काफी functional हैं. अगर इनको idea scale पे देखा जाए तो they will not score very high. जैसे कि डॉक्टर देसाई ने अपने opening remarks में ही कल कहा था, not all but only a few people with mental illness who have severe condition would have disability. लेकिन clearly the perception of disability is not linearly correlated to functionality. यहाँ पे awareness की बात आती है. Not just awareness among public, but also awareness among persons with mental illness, and also self-awareness. तो second question मैंने अपने members से ये पूछा, would you want a disability certificate? Just assume you meet the criteria for it. And I explained a couple of the main benefits. इसका answer was slightly more no than yes. जिन्होंने yes बोला वो mostly इसलिए कि maybe reservation की वजह से उनको higher education में मदद हो सकती थी, लेकिन frankly diagnosis इतने भी young age में नहीं होता है, and duration of illness is a big component. It's a big measure on the idea scale. So even assuming कि disability certificate भी time पे मिल जाता, this is quite a narrow one. This is my opinion. But of course the other thing is कि mainly financial position of the family matters the most. So for job security, one would say that the government job is best. I can't comment more क्योंकि evidently low family income के members हमारे community में अभी ज़्यादा नहीं हैं, but we'll get there one day. So now about the members who said no, काफी ने बोला no. जिन्होंने कहा कि उन्हें disability है, फिर भी उन्हें disability certificate नहीं चाहिए. Because of the shame associated with the word disabled. So they think they are disabled, but they don't want others to think so. कुछ लोग government job को एक compromise समझते हैं, उनको private sector में ही job चाहिए. Frankly, मैं भी ऐसी थी.
So Avni, we need to hurry up.
I'm done almost. Yeah, thanks. So for some, a disability certificate may be a boon, but like what Dr. Achal Bhagat explained very well yesterday, that for every person with mental illness, it's not just reservations that they need. Our community members are saying that they want comprehensive and affordable healthcare and inclusivity. You know, कि regular workplaces में ही suitable accommodations मिल जाएं, insurance benefits not just on paper, more affordable but good therapists, and the ultimate dream that enough psychiatrists and psychiatric social workers that home visits are possible, right? So I can't talk more about reforms here क्योंकि छोटा मुंह बड़ी बात हो जाएगी. लेकिन हाँ, जहाँ तक awareness की बात आती है, the public may not know that mental illness of any kind is a disability, but they are very quick to judge functionality of people on the name of the mental illness. So when I talk to other people about the community I'm running, and these people don't know that I have bipolar disorder, तो मैं उनको बताती हूँ कि मेरे कम्युनिटी में कुछ मेंबर्स को डिप्रेशन है, एंजाइटी है, वहां तक तो ठीक है, पर जब मैं बोलती हूँ कि वी हैव सम मेंबर्स विद बाइपोलर एंड स्किज़ोफ्रेनिया, दे से व्हाट, are they even able to manage that just being members, right? So they have no idea how many people with severe episodes, psychosis, hospitalizations, and so on with treatment have gone on to become pretty functional in their lives. I'm one of them, but they don't know that, right? And our community is full of such people. So I think even without thinking of the term disability, in their minds, they judge persons with mental illness as disabled. And I think advocacy efforts by people with lived experience here will really help. Like I'm trying to do that, so are others. But it seems the toughest audience is not strangers, it's our own extended families. So, and just one important point I'd like to just say here is that in some cases I've seen illnesses like bipolar disorder and schizophrenia are considered as severe mental illness, and the likes of depression and anxiety are considered common mental illness. पर मुझे लगता है कि yes, manic phase, hallucinations, violent, psychotic breaks, बहुत dangerous, distressful, tricky होते हैं, and I've been through some of that. लेकिन बहुत बारी I have been through very severe depression, and that's literally where we feel that we're either already dying or we should die. So depression takes lives. So if we consider suicide to be a severe problem, why isn't depression a severe illness? So I think terminology matters. जो बाकी हमें कहते हैं for societal, like decreasing societal stigma, और जो हम अपने आप को कहते हैं to decrease self stigma. तो मुझे ये शब्द अच्छे नहीं लगते कि I am suffering from bipolar disorder. No, every moment of my life I am not suffering. I am living with bipolar disorder. So I think self-image makes all the difference. And yes, we are not bipolars and schizophrenics. We are people living with bipolar disorder, people living with schizophrenia. Yes. Just like people with diabetes, not diabetics. It's the same. So also this is my personal opinion, just like I think we shouldn't say sufferers. I also don't like the terms users or survivors or even patients, right? Because we are patients for our doctors. We are clients for our therapists, but we are people for the public. And I like the term warriors because on a daily basis, you know, we are battling some small or big battle with our minds. So that's why I've called our community Warriors Connect. So thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Avni. Really well said. And you said some things which were very touching to the heart. I have Dr. Rastogi wanting to just comment before I take on questions from the audience.
I know constraint of time, lunch is waiting for all of you, but still I thought Dr. Shiva has spoken very well, but he also touched about the long duration of illness, and she has also touched about. You spoke from the heart. It requires lot of courage to acknowledge, gentlemen, lot of courage to acknowledge. And she has acknowledged it openly. But she has talked about the certification in the long duration, both of them. So let me clarify. The IDEA scale has 4 components: self-care, communication, the interpersonal activities, and work. All have been rated 4.1234. You require 40% disability cutoff. That means a score of 7 will do. So where is the question of long duration? Even if you have a 2 years duration, it is more than enough, because चारों के अपन 4 point भी जोड़ ले तो 16 हो गए. Duration is nowhere in the picture. Yes, important thing is in the mental illness, if it is a long duration, then disability ensues. But if it is a short duration, doctor will say, first let's take treatment, you might improve, you will not get disabled. Now to clarify your point one more. If a person is having mental illness, does not mean the person is having disability. Please remember, just having an illness does not mean you have a disability. And just having a long duration of illness does not mean you have a disability. I have the patient with bipolar disorder who retired as Director General Darshan. I have a patient who retired as General Manager Punjab National Bank. I have a patient who retired as Director General Nirman Bhavan after 25 years of follow-up regularly. No disability at all at any kind. Many examples. So long duration also does not mean you have a disability. You are having an illness does not mean you have a disability. So that point should be clarified in that. And last, there is a wrong notion and myth, you can say whatever it is, disabled people are inferior. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We need to clarify that. We need to have positive attitude towards in the society. Yes. With this, please, I hand over the microphone.
Thanks. Dr. Chaturvedi, you're there. So do you wish to say something? Do you want to comment?
Yeah, no, I will go in continuation with the previous speakers, Avini, and before that Varleka, and now what Dr. Rastogi has said. See, and that we need to, also view, see, in the word disability, there is ability. Ability, and which, Dr. Rastogi very rightly pointed out, not everyone with mental illness is disabled, of course not. And when we look at, the figures for the severity of disability, it varies. And, as I feel, what to say, I mean, when Avni gets, involved with the terminology, see, let's not go by the name. When they say common mental disorder, it doesn't mean it is very common, because that is also uncommon. And when they say severe is a name, is different thing, severity is different thing. But, what we have not talked about, maybe because when we talk about issues and challenges, we always talk about difficulties. We don't talk about the assets. I know a lot of people who have mental illness and who are very creative. And in this session, we have had these two people, both Varleka and Avni, who have this beautiful ability to express their views, talk about things and various things that they are doing. So, this is probably also contributed because of the health issues that they have had. So I know a lot of people who are artists, singers, various things. And sometimes I feel that has contributed to their ability. So on one hand, I agree that, we need some support from government and society, and we talk about certification and all, but let's also discuss how to live with mental health issues and how to live with a person who has mental health issues, and, how they can contribute to the society, how people with mental health problems, as Dr. Rastogi gave so many examples. I also have had so many examples of people who are very well placed despite having mental health issues, but they have contributed to the society. So I think we have had, Dr. Roma, a very good discussion on various aspects. And I don't know, I leave it to you whether you would like to take any questions, because the next session, again, we are going to have a lot of time on, summarizing and discussing. But I would like to thank you personally, Dr. Roma, for being in person and doing that, and for all the speakers, even the young ones like Varleka and Avni, and and Dr. Rastogi and others who have beautifully highlighted the wide spectrum of mental health and disability, ability, and how to live with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chaturvedi. I think you actually paraphrased the whole thing very, very well. Thank you. So I'm not sure, should we take questions? Okay. Yes, yes.
One thing I've learned from Dr. Desai sir is that we always end on an optimistic note. I mean, we speak of disability, we speak of problems, but with two young people, I think both Varnika and Avni being there and the work they are doing go a long way in creating awareness. It's not easy. Let me tell you, it's not easy to come up. It's not easy to come up and share on such a large forum because people judge, people talk. I know you've gone through those stages, but I think the young energy which is there today, plus everybody sitting at the back, I think that's what needs to connect.
Thank you. Thank you. That was well said. Yeah.
Okay, how about the term temporary disability? See, a person in the manic episode, a person in a depressive episode, or a person in the acutely psychotic episode is unable to work. So if that is the term which can be given due recognition, then there are certain benefits which can be still available for them. But it is a temporary disability.
Yes, it is. It is. Yes.
So
why only permanent disability?
Yes, I agree with you.
But for temporary disability, you have benefits. You can take rest. You can take medical certificate. No, I'm just saying in the lighter tone. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
If the temporary disability lasts, we are issuing a certificate for 5 years. Remember that. It is not that the disability certificate is not issued to the temporary people. The disability certificate is issued for the temporary disability. Yes, there is no benefit to temporary. Because the logic is simple. You see, theoretically we can discuss anything. अभी जिनको real disability है, उनको तो benefits मिलने आप शुरू हुए हैं यार. After so much of and that, so let those people get that benefit first, and then we'll come to the temporary disability. Temporary disability में you, Ashwani, astute clinician, I know you for 40 years. तुमने मरीज देखे temporary में 95% तो अच्छे हो गए होंगे यार. तो फिर कहां से वो डिसेबल्ड हो गए? उनको रेस्ट मिला, एडवाइस करी, ठीक हो गए. सो डिसेबिलिटी का मतलब क्या है? पहले तो अपन उस डेफिनेशन में जाएं. उस डेफिनेशन में. दैट्स ऑल.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. It was a very nice presentation by all of you. I want to ask these two persons, I'm forgetting the names, Avni and this. I heard this phrase in Instagram that nobody on this earth can motivate you unless and until you yourself motivate yourself. So in spite of going to the psychologist or psychiatrist, what motivated you, or what on your own self, by yourself you did to improve your life apart from, going through anxiety and depression and bipolar? So that, I know many people who are drug addicts, but they are not able to motivate themselves to come out of alcohol or drug addiction. But some people by themselves are able to improve. So what all strategies did you adopted to which motivated you to come out of the disorders?
First of all, thank you so much for this question. I remember I was at my workplace and I was just sharing my emotions with my colleague, and he told me one line. He said, be your own ally, be your own friend. No matter what people tell you that, we are always there for you, in the end, you are only there for yourself. You need to help yourself. So I think that was the encouragement that I gave to myself. And I took the initiative to take help, to take therapy, and then became a voice for many more people in terms of helping them to connect with professionals like therapists and psychologists. So I am actually acting like a catalyst for people who require help, because till today, people do hesitate in reaching out to a professional. So through my work, through my initiative, what I didn't get, I'm trying to help to other people. So one thing that is very important for each one of us is to realize is that be your own encourager. Clap for yourself. So thank you so much.
I agree with all of that, but I just have to say one thing. It matters when you start saying these things to yourself. Because let's talk biology.
this is a biological issue. It's physiology. It's your brain that is not functioning properly. And I'm saying this as an ex-neuroscientist also probably. The thing is, when you're so deep, dark in depression, or you're just a complete mess, your brain is not working properly. It's not possible to have a good attitude and be motivated and, you know, just get out of the bed. So at that time, medications are really important. You have to get your medications going properly, then you'll have enough level of neurotransmitters. मतलब पहले brain has to come to a certain level कि आपको at least logical or rational thinking possible हो. उससे पहले तो कुछ भी self help करते रहो, it will not matter. So I think all of these things are great, and do it when you start getting better. When you feel that there is a little bit of energy in your body, that's when you have to kick in. And I don't think medicines fix our life. They just fix our brain. The rest is us.
Any more questions?
Oh, yeah, the one point. Okay.
Okay.
Shiv Kumar?
Shiv Kumar, you wanted to say something?
Comment? Yeah, unmute, I think.
Yes, sir. This is regarding the point that persons with temporary disability certificate do not get benefits. It is not so. According to a recent High Court ruling, even persons with temporary disability certificate due to mental illness are entitled for job reservation, sir. Just wanted to enforce that point.
Thank you. Thank you. That was well taken. Yeah. And Manisha?
Yeah, I would like to share my experience as an intern in Gangaram Hospital. We had a patient come in, OPD patient, who came totally distraught, unclean for 4-5 days, wearing bathroom slippers, wearing shabby clothes. And I remember Dr. Rajesh Goyal prescribing him some antidepressive medicines. And after 15 days, he was called again for evaluation. And I saw for the first time the transformation the medication had done. He was neat. He had oiled and combed hair. His he was wearing shirt, pant, tucked, polished boots. I was so amazed by the effect of the medication that Dr. Goyal had prescribed. And later on, we did his counseling sessions also. So I feel psychological counseling and psychiatric care has to go hand in hand. It has to be together. Both cannot work alone. Thank you.
Thanks for reiterating the same fact. I think we are talking about the same. And I think I'm going to close the session now. Or there's somebody else wanting to say something? No, I think we can close the session. Thank you, Dr. Chaturvedi, with me. And I think it was a wonderful session. We shared a lot of experiences and a lot of our thoughts. And I'm sure we'll be able to take it forward in different sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Roma. Thank you so much. Dr. Roma Kumar here and Dr. Santosh Chaturvedi from Bangalore Online, both moderators. Thank you so much. And of course, we'll have Dr. Chaturvedi moderating the next session with me, where we try and synthesize and integrate whatever we've discussed in the 2 days. But all the panelists for this session, Rajesh Rastogi, Aparna Khanna, Shiv Kumar, Varilika, and Avni. Thank you so much. I think we are ready for lunch, and I hope the lunch is served. But can I say that we really must get back by 2:25, so that we actually can begin this session at 2:30, please. And then we would have caught up on time. The session is scheduled at 2:30 and we'll start at 2:30, hopefully. Santosh, those, please have your own lunch at home. Sorry about that.
Online based though.
Thank you.
Swiggy.
Thank you.
Order through Swiggy.
Yes, we can do that. Thank you so much. Really, one more time and felicitation. One big round of applause, man. तालियां. तालियों का क्या हो गया यार? Okay.
yesterday.